we come up with a little issue or two, but we had the fabulous, fantabulous, fantastic Pablo was in here giving us the tips and tricks. So I will definitely, if you're having a problem, if you're a broadcaster and it's, I got to do the political point. Sorry, don't point with my finger. So you can refresh the screen. Anyway, you're watching HAPS TV. Caleigh is our guest tonight. She's coming all the way from Toronto, Canada, via a series of tubes we call the interweb. And if you're watching the replay, or you're on another platform, get over to HAPS. Hey, Yassine, St. Petersburg, Florida, get over to HAPS. We've got a program right now. If you got to go to my invite, it's exclusively my program. Okay, that's not really true. Go to my profile page, click on invite, somewhere it'll be on there. Come on board. You can make $25 if you broadcast 4 times in 4 weeks. And I make $25. So you're helping me out too. So there's taking care of all the business, paying the bills. And we are ready to meet Caleigh. Is it? And we are like, we're just going to have a blast. And here we go. Hey.
Hello. It's actually,
how are you?
It's Caleigh. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Did I say it wrong again?
You said it 2 different ways. So you did get it right.
Oh my God. All right, hold on a second. Hold on a second. See this piece of paper? Got a big K on it. Caleigh.
You know
Caleigh.
what? I should spell it phonetically on my socials and whatnot. And to be fair, I'm a lot more accepting of being called anything else these days. But when I was a kid, my poor mother would get phone calls from my elementary school teachers saying that I wasn't there, I wasn't in class, but really I was just such a shit disturber. Part of my French, I don't know if I'm allowed to say those sorts of words.
Oh, you can swear. You can mared, shit, whatever you want to do.
Cool. Yeah, my mom used to get phone calls saying I wasn't in class because if the instructor wouldn't pronounce my name properly, I wouldn't put my hand up. And this is coming from like a kindergartner. So I've chilled out a little bit.
Woo, that's good because I have fucked that up every time I've said your name since I've met you. And I want to say that Caleigh and I go way back, as you can tell. We met on Clubhouse, like in Clubhouse years, it was a while ago. But in real years, it wasn't, but just a few days ago. And I don't think of Clubhouse as any kind of competition. Perhaps I think of it as a receptacle for me to meet awesome people like Caleigh and to be in a room. And I think we were in a room like maybe like mental health and stuff was being discussed. I honestly can't remember. But
Probably.
because you said something. I know you said something and it was a comment that I thought, ooh, that's interesting. And so then I reached out and see if you'd come hang out on my show. So Caleigh is an actress. She's a writer. She's a director, and she's in Toronto. And of course, ostensibly, we're going to talk about those things. But I think we talked about those things a little bit when we did our little pre-interview.
I don't know if we got to that because we started getting into Alan Watts territory, and that is common for me. So it makes sense that you're saying it feels like it's been years in Clubhouse years because the virtual world has definitely screwed with my sense of time.
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. I am 3 weeks into every night. I'm like, I have to go to sleep. And then I had somebody ping me last night at like, because a lot of these people are on the West Coast. It's like, so they'll ping me midnight their time, and it's like 2 a.m. And I'm like, oh, but I really can't say no to that ping. That's a person that I really like, and, I want to get to know more and everything. So then I'm up to like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, some conversation or whatever. But I did meet Barbara Davidson last night, and she is a Pulitzer Prize winner, an Emmy Award winning Guggenheim Fellowed photographer. It's like, how would I ever be invited to a party? Revolution McInnes in Chicago, who doesn't know anybody. How would I ever be invited to a cocktail party? Because there are only about 5 of us in that room. So I'm not endorsing Clubhouse. Okay, don't. It's bad. Okay, it's bad. Don't do it. Okay, because this is better. Haps is better. But anyway, it's really fun. So I'm
I
going to
feel
let you
like
talk.
you could be invited to any party with that name, and that was something I was going to ask you right off the bat. Is that your given name? Is that your real name, Revolution?
It was given to me, but not by my parents.
Cool.
So yes, so the story. I'll do the story quick because so I used to work for Greenpeace. The Save the Dolphins, Save the Whales. Environmental folks, and this was years ago. This was in the '90s, and somewhere along the way, some people started calling me Revolution. I was, I'm pretty hardcore leftist. We've already talked about this and a little bit. So somebody started calling me Revolution. So it just kind of stuck with a certain amount of people. And when I was homeless about 10 years ago, and I need to tell my homeless story on this show sometime. But when I was homeless, I didn't know that I was depressed clinically, right? But I had already made this decision when I was homeless. So I was on Twitter. And gosh, what was I was from _nothing back then on Twitter, and my name has changed a few times over the years, but I really felt like I was, alone, right? I mean, I'm homeless, and it was very psychologically difficult. But somewhere in those first moments, the first few days, I'd always kind of had this dual thing, and somewhere in there, I decided, you know what, I'm going to be Revolution McInnes. McInnes is my mother's maiden name. So I'm going to stick with that one. That's who I'm going to be. And my therapist, once I finally got a therapist, she's like, oh yeah, like couldn't be any more obvious. You're bipolar. You have two names. So she was kidding, but
I was gonna say, I hope so.
She was kidding. She was kidding. We were joking around.
Cool.
She was kidding, but I definitely, that's definitely the story. And it just stuck. And it is really, I really kind of had this belief, like, I mean, you can't do it, but I really think culturally we could. I think you should be given a name, but then like when you're 18 or something, you can choose your own name. Like you're given a temporary name, you're free to keep it forever, but you're given a temporary name because like, what if you're not a Bob? What if you're not a Phil or a Caleigh, right? I mean, what if it doesn't feel right? I mean, I've met guys named Bob and I'm like, oh no, you're more like a Duke or a Jack or, something, firm, not like a Bob.
Then you become an actress and you're every other character and you respond to every other name. And it's funny that you are using specifically the name Bob because when I used to be a fitness instructor, I used to be a cycling instructor for a little while. And there was this one fellow who was a regular in my class and I could never remember his name. And it wasn't a matter of like, I didn't recognize that I wasn't even remembering it. I was just continually calling him Bob. And finally, one day he came up to me after class and he said, my name's not Bob, right? And I'm like,
really, Bob?
Hey, Rob. I just continued on and then I realized it really wasn't, but it was too late. He was Bob to me.
And I bet now you don't even remember what his name was.
No, he's Bob.
Yeah, he's Bob. Well, I mean, maybe he's gone on to be a great actor. And his name is Bob. Let's see. So this works this way too, Caleigh. I'm going to occasionally jump into the chat section here, and you can do it too. So if you see Brenda from Evansville pop in and you want to say hi to her, please do. Brenda's a regular. Actually, Brenda's helped get us a few guests on here. Yassine and Retta, right? You guys are twins. They're going to be on the program. They're doing like journalism and all kinds of fun stuff.
Oh, that's so cool. I have no idea how to jump into the chat. I'm so green to this and I'm very excited to learn all of the bells and whistles. So it'll be like a tutorial for everybody tonight.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. And in case we have any of like a language gap, like a boot and those kind of things, we have Paul from I think he's in are you in Quebec, Paul? I think you're in Quebec. And I have no idea how to say Paul's last name. He told me once, but it's like it's not the way that it looks. And then there's Asha from London. So wow, Asha, it is 5 a.m. in London. Love you for showing up. That is so awesome. And everybody say hi to Caleigh. Caleigh, there are a lot of other people probably watching, but they are lurkers. Like they're. I just found out today they can actually watch without without commenting because I only watch through the system. But so yeah, there's lots of people watching, and if you say the right thing once in a while, they'll pop in and say hello. But yeah, at any time, if you just want to say hey, hi to Marsha, or read a question, that somebody's directed to you, just feel free.
How do I actually type back to them?
Well, you're just talking to them.
Oh, so I don't have that capability while I'm.
You do.
Okay.
Yes, I do it. I do it quite often myself. So down there in the lower left, is there like a pink bar next to your face?
Yeah, but there's a little lock symbol on it, and
Unlock it.
I'm not allowed to touch that because, like I said, my temperament has changed. When I was a kid,
Right.
if I saw red buttons that said "Don't touch," I am all about hitting them. But now I feel like I'm a break thing.
Go with that instinct.
Yeah. Oh, okay, Helen. I mean, Eleanor. I was just saying that for fun. I have locked you out of being able to push anything that will matter.
Okay, cool.
So push that button, push that lock. The red will go away, and you can type. You can talk to them. So it's actually cool. You can have a side conversation going while you and I are talking. So it is a lot of fun. I don't know how much.
I don't think I even responded to the. Oh, maybe I responded to the right person.
You might have. Yes, you did.
Cool.
I think you did. Now I don't know. Can you go click on one of them and open it up, and where it says like reply? Does it give you any choices?
Yes.
Look at that.
I guess I need to like do spaces and such. I'm figuring out how to type too.
I like this. Oh, I'm a terrible typer. You know what I did during keyboarding class? I went outside, the school and got stoned. So I can't type to this day.
Funnily enough, I'm a great typer. I actually, as one of my side gigs from sitting at home in COVID times, I am essentially a transcriptionist. So for all of the colleges and universities around the GTA, around Toronto, I will log into lectures that are being delivered live online. And for students who are deaf and hard of hearing, I am typing verbatim what is being said in those classrooms so that they can follow.
Oh, wow.
along. So I'm a fast typer. Once I figure out the bells and whistles of platforms, and so far I've got like 2 messages out to replies, but hello to everybody who's saying hi to me. This is really cool.
Awesome. Well, Kim Carolina. So Kim Carolina in her bio. Oh, I'm going to do this. Yes, Kim, I'm going to do this. Hang on one second. Where is Clubhouse? Ooh, I keep mentioning that name. I mean, we're going to call it something else because the bosses are probably watching me. Where is Kim on here? Hang on. I want to read her bio because it makes me sound so cool. Hold on. I love her for this. Here she is. Talent executive of The Big Interview with Revolution McInnes of Haps and Periscope fame. I love you, Kim. So thank you very much. Kim,
makes it sound special too. I like it.
Yeah, she kind of does like the booking and the finding of people, and she's just awesome. And in fact, she got me so many of my early interviews, and then she's landed just some people. It's been fun going over to Haps. Awesome. Yes, come over to Haps. Do you have an invite? I'm going to give you guys an invite. If you're not, I can't give it to you because you're on Twitter. Go to my, I got to give somebody control of my Twitter. Go to my Twitter, and you can see how we do this. There's no budget, so. Hang on, bear with me. I'm taking care of business. Go to my Twitter. It's just RevMac Live. And if you guys want to join up on this link. If you want to make $25, just DM me and ask me how to do it. And Revolution, shut up and get back to business. Oh, okay. Never mind. Did I say that out loud? I didn't say that out loud. All right. So we were talking about like human nature, the nature of the universe, existence, whether we're real, and all of these things. And Caleigh is like, I had to like coax it out of her. She was not talk about it. She didn't seem to be familiar with it. She doesn't have a sibling that is maybe an expert in it, it was just really tough. But That said, like, I don't know that if I asked you, like, do you remember when you kind of first posited that nature of reality, consciousness, existence, and all of that stuff? Do you remember a specific time?
You mean in my life when I started thinking
Yeah.
obsessively about
Have you
it?
been doing this? Right. Right.
Um, wow, that's a really good question. I have never considered when my obsession started with these thoughts, but honestly, I think it's a headspace that I have lived in probably for as long as I can remember. I remember being a kid driving to, I think, probably my grandparents' place, and we used to do a lot of traveling because my father was in the military, and we used to move around every 3 to 4 years. So wherever we were stationed, we always had to drive to go be with family. And there was a game that I used to play to preoccupy myself. I mean, several. I lived in my own world, still do very much so in my own imagination. But I would stare at the lines on the road, specifically the yellow lines that were unbroken. Those were the easiest to play with for me. And I could I swear I could lift them off of the pavement and watch them float around like ribbon. And
Mm-hmm.
like for some reason that was it was more of a I had to focus to be able to do it. And if you've ever
Right.
played with those magic books or magic eye books, I don't know if people
Yep.
are familiar. Okay, so the ones that you like cross your eyes and pull the book away so that you can see an illusion of a 3D figure. I suppose that's what I was doing with my eyes, and I didn't really realize it until I was introduced to those books. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So eyes work in a particular way that aren't supposed to lift lines off the ground. But
Mm-hmm.
that's just the earliest memory I think that comes to mind when you ask me about when I first recognized that I was a weirdo. And I still think about that to this day.
Well, that's
That's
really
so
awesome
extremely
because,
strange because I used to do that.
I
oh
That
my
is
gosh.
beyond
didn't even
freaking
know you've done this.
nuts. Like,
I love
as
that.
you're describing it, I was like, wait, what? What? No, I
Is it
used to do
anybody
this.
else?
Like I never have known anyone else. Like,
Okay, well, see, the thing
ever.
is that I don't really have much of a filter, so I don't mind admitting the weird things that I have done or experienced in life.
Same.
Ooh, that'd
Anybody
be
else has done it, comment, please tell me, because I love that I'm finding some soul sisters out there who do the same thing as me.
That's
when
so bizarre.
when we
I've
do
never
another
heard
one.
anyone who did that. Like, I thought that
When
was
we
just
do
like,
another one, we're going to call it Caleigh Unfiltered. The Eleanor, that is awesome, and like I I I will be in bed trying to sleep, and a kind of a game I play with myself is that I don't know, like sometimes when you're asleep, like if you like you rub your eyes, you see like some colors and stuff like that. I mean, there's always a little light passing through your eyelids, unless it's pitch black. So there's always a little something to focus on there. And what I do is I take that focal point and then expand it into like a tunnel, like a wormhole with my mind. And I just go down it like a roller coaster. And I'm not kidding you. Like it's real. Like it's just a little fleck of light on my eye. But in my mind, I can merge the two. And it really, it really feels like what you were doing with that line, which was you were taking it. And because the thing about the way our brains work is that everything we see right now, it's just an illusion. The brain is having to anticipate what it's seeing, a millisecond ahead, a fraction of a second ahead, so that, it can compensate. So you like don't fall downstairs and stuff because there's a millisecond delay between what your eye sees and the brain. So it's out there. So you were able to take that. I think you were able, both of you, all three of us, I think that we're kind of able to game or hack the system a little bit and create our own little version of reality, for those moments. I think it's that deep.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm obsessed with as of lately, especially, and you kind of alluded to this. My sister is a scientist. She's a neuroscientist. I think she has a PhD in neuroscience and biochemistry. So I'll regularly call upon her to see if she can explain these weird phenomenological experiences that I'm having. And what I recently dug up that I was tossing her way. This isn't something that she has been researching, but another neuroscientist recently put out a paper that is talking about a new theory, particularly about the visual cortex of our brain. And I'm not going to try to, I know I'll botch it if I try to get too detailed with it. So I'll put it in layman's terms because that's how I learn and understand it. But essentially, theoretically, they're deducing that our brains, the reason why we dream, the reason why we think we see things in our dreams, the visual component, is because evolutionarily speaking, that part of the brain, the way that the brain has developed is like basically that's the only sense that is being turned off when you go to sleep. You close your eyes, and if it doesn't have some sort of way of maintaining activity, the other senses or the other areas in the brain for those other senses will dominate and take over. So it has to maintain its territory, so to speak, in the brain by having some sort of activity. And it's been, I guess, some of the supporting evidence that underlies this is that if you think of those who lose their sight at some stage in their life and eventually develop heightened other senses, it's because those other senses are actually forming new neurological loops in that part of the brain. It's taking over visual cortex of the brain. Same thing with you have like the phantom limb syndrome. If you lose a limb but you still think you have sensations, your brain is essentially rewiring itself to accommodate to your new way of being in the world, which I find incredibly fascinating. It's like this part of your brain, just to maintain its survival in that in your brain as a whole, is having to do work while you're sleeping just to fight for its territory. It's just super strange, but I find very fascinating.
That is super fascinating. And it really, I don't know if neuroplasticity is the right word here because it's a cool, big sounding word, but but because and I'm definitely a layman. Hey, Mark and Caleigh, say hello. This is Mark Goldman, the CEO of HAPS from Los Angeles.
Oh, thanks for having me on your platform. It's really cool.
Awesome. And Mark, it's just so awesome to have you in here as always. I mean, how many platforms do you go to where the coolest dude in the room is the CEO and he comes in, he will occasionally come in and hang out with people. So it's pretty cool. So the thing about the brain in that idea makes total sense because if you think about it, the visual cortex is always going when your eyes are open, right? It's constantly processing information. So it would make sense instead of developing a system. And of course, evolution only looks like it's a process in reverse, right? I mean, we know it's selection and all of these things, but it makes kind of sense that the brain says, well, instead of shutting down, we'll just create a story and we'll run it visually through the head based on what you were saying is to keep equilibrium with the system. So that makes total sense. And, it makes me start to think about the nature of dreams really don't matter what they are because it just needs to keep the system going. So it doesn't even, the brain doesn't, everybody tries to put meaning, it's a purple rose, it's a pink rose in your dream. It means you will, your bank account's low or something. You know what I mean?
You're already hitting on like multiple different topics that I want to speak tangentially on. Even just the fact that you brought up story. Yes, our brain is taking in information, or all of our senses, not just our brain, but we have a psychosomatic connection, right? That we're taking in information with all of our senses, and then we create story to function in the world. And obviously, that's just kind of an underlining and underpinning of my obsession with what I do for a career as a storyteller in many different regards. Even just the mention of the color pink, which I can't remember exactly the science behind it. Again, I should stay away from all the science talk because I'm an actor, writer, director, and that's what I'm supposed to be talking about. But
only if you want to. I mean, I want to talk about this if you want to, and just keep saying you're a lay person, and we'll be fine.
I am a lay person, and I love the color pink, and it I think it's brown and pink are the two most prominent ones that are coming to mind that are examples of mixed colors that are not. I think it's that our the receptors in our eyeballs are not actually able to pull in those colors. So it's actually an illusion that we think we're seeing those colors. I'm definitely botching that, but I was listening.
No, I definitely know that about pink for sure. I've heard that.
Okay, so cool. Then I'm right about the science, and that means that brown is also. I remember that brown and pink were the examples given for that theory or the science behind it. But I was listening to a lecture on the physics of light and sound this morning, and was just flabbergasted at the fact that the sky is actually violet, not blue. But our brains or our eyeballs, the cones and the rods in our eyes. I guess it's actually it's the cones that do the colors and the rods that do the light sensitivity, or do I have those backwards?
We can ask Asha, because Asha says, no, please, it's great. You're speaking to a scientist. So if anybody knows out there, which it is, it's one of those. So we'll go with it. Ellen Mark says, hey, Revolution, loving this broadcast. So great to meet you, Caleigh. This is fascinating.
It's great to meet you too. I love that you're here. And I wanted to, before I get back to the cones and the rods in our eyeballs, I wanted to specifically speak to the fact that what I find so fascinating about HAPS, just from my preliminary search on here, is how many journalists I'm seeing on here. I come from a journalistic background, and it immediately sparked my interest. I love that this platform is being designed for, especially in the times that we are at right now, but with the transitions of mainstream broadcast journalism just turning into, the Netflixes of the world and different and smaller streaming platforms that are growing and taking over the marketplace. It's really cool. So I just wanted to say kudos and thanks for having me. I love this. And I guess back to the cones and the rods.
Frank out in California says you got it right.
Oh, amazing. Okay, cool. I don't even remember which way I put it, but I'm just going to leave it at that.
I don't actually remember what you said either, but we'll take credit. You can take credit for it.
Cool. I think I was saying that the cones are the ones that detect the RGB, the colors, and that the rods are the ones that actually detect light sensitivity, the light and darkness. And so what blew my mind was I have an obsession of taking photographs of sunsets. So again, today that was kind of like, I saw the sun going down. I had to drop what I was doing. I was in the middle of editing a self-tape audition. I'm like, no, I got time. I'm going to run out to my favorite watch point and take pictures of the sunset, especially because I was listening to this lecture this morning that explained how we see that reddish hue, the orange red hue on the horizon when we're watching the sunset, and above us we see the blue violet tinge. And I never knew that it was because of the behavior of light called scattering, and the way that, depending on what part of the spectrum of colors you're looking at, they have different wavelengths. So the red hues don't scatter as far in the sky, but the blues and the violets do. So that's why you see that line of the red on the horizon. I don't know why I geek out so much on that. I think it's so fascinating.
It is incredibly fascinating. And Mark, yes, Frank and we've chatted. He's been in my room. He's been in here quite a few times. And Frank and I've had a lot of fun. And I know Frank was. He even told me he was part of HAPS in the beginning, so it's really cool. I love the community, and Caleigh's getting a sense of the community already that we have here. So that is great. Now, you said that the sky, they said, was actually violet, and that is funny because there's always this classic thing where people are like, how do you really know the sky is blue, right? How do you know anything? And then, so you have this debate of how do you know the sky is really blue? And I'll be like, wait, no, it's violet. It's not blue. And they'll be like, no, I've seen all these arguments as to why the sky is blue. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but that's not why, because the sky is actually violet. You just interpret it as blue. And that's the same way. There are some cultures that do not have a different, but they can't tell green from blue apart. They'll only have one. Usually they have a name that would be more representative of blue, but they won't have a word for green because to them there's no difference. And I'm like, well, how can that be? I clearly see blue and green on this screen, but their reference frame is different. So
Yeah,
I took
I think
pictures. Oh, nice.
that's what has me so wrapped up in maybe that's just the space that I kind of tunnel down into when I start thinking about the work that I do and the fact that it's my job to imagine conditions or circumstances and to believe them and then to act within them. And the fact that everybody has such, I think this is what we were talking about in our pre-interview the other day, the fact that we will never see the world like another human being because we have such subjective experiences that we're bringing forth with us. And I think that day I had listened to a lecture about, or I was probing probably, I think a panel of neuroscientists on Clubhouse after trying to attack my sister for 3 hours on the phone about where thoughts come from and learning that, I can't remember the name of the scientist, but I think that day I had just dug up a scientist who I believe is Canadian and has been researching thoughts and how we, I guess, the way that we differentiate between how, I can't remember exactly how he puts it, but he did studies where he essentially had people wear buzzers and randomly the buzzer would go off and they'd have to write down what they were thinking or feeling or if they had a thought in the moment. And I think the whole purpose was that some people were claiming that they didn't have an internal monologue while others did believe that they had an internal monologue or they could actually think in words. And some people could not think in words without actually saying the words out loud, even looking in a mirror and, thinking, oh, I'm looking tired. I'm looking real good today. They don't have those words going on. They would actually have to say it out loud. So, but apparently people's recollection or narration of what's going on in their head is still not all that reliable. So there are so many studies being done to figure out exactly what is happening and how we match up with each other. So we think differently as well. We'll never see the world the same way.
Was I right? Is your sister a neuroscientist?
She is. She has her PhD in neuroscience and biochemistry.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Okay, so I was close. So Asha says Caleigh's sister should broadcast, also maybe collab with Ian. So Ian is on the network here, and he is a I think he's a neuro guy, right? Or no, he's a physicist. Maybe he's a physicist. Maybe anyway, you guys will tell me. You'll know
He's
quickly.
a neuroscientist.
Neuroscientist. Yeah, he's going to be on the program. Actually, we should have you on the program with him. That would be really fun. Nice Zeppelin shirt. Brett is on the Haps team and is digging that. Great interview. Thanks, Mark, for that tip there. That gives me a good opportunity to let people know that neuroscientists go in and. After this program, go tip some of the other creators on here, some of the ones that you like, give them a tip. And definitely, if there's somebody that you really like, sponsor them for $1 or $5 a month. If you like the work that they're doing, let them know and you'll make their day. You will just totally make their day. Abyss, what's up? Oh my gosh, Abyss. Wow. Like I should just turn this over to Abyss because Abyss is I actually think Abyss is just don't get offended, Abyss, but like a bot, but not a bad bot.
He's not an alien.
Okay? Yeah, no, I don't think he's an alien. I think he's a computer, and there's nothing that I can say, and he's like, well, actually, you're close, but the fact of the matter is, yes, and he's very right. So say hello, Abyss, to Caleigh, and welcome to the program. Look at that great interview award, high five award. Thank you, everybody. So I want to jump into this idea of where do thoughts come from?
I would also love to, I don't know if you can connect with me afterwards and tell me about the neuroscientists you're talking about, because I am trying to get my sister onto, I actually was giving her a walkthrough of Twitter because she's about to be announced as, she's being commemorated as one of the 100 women being recognized for as a commemoration of the 100 years it has been since the University of
Oxford.
Yeah, the University of Oxford actually started admitting women as full members, and she's over there at Oxford, so she's going to be awarded that. And I was trying to teach her how to share that on Twitter, and this would be another step for her. But I'm always interested in meeting other neuroscientists and connecting them.
Well, I don't know. Well, let's give it a shot. I don't know if Ian's online. Hang on a second. Okay, that's as far as I get because I don't know Ian's.
It's at Anthropod.
Oh, it's at
Right.
Anthropod. Thank you.
I think that's what it is. I think somebody put it up here too.
Hey, could you just ping him, send him an invite, and give him a little message here? See if he's got a minute and stop by. That would be really cool. So this idea around thoughts, because we did have this discussion when we were talking the other day, and you had just gotten off a conversation with your sister, right, about it?
Well, I have many conversations with her about it, but I think it was the day before. Yeah.
Right. So I want to know, between the two of you, what are you thinking about? Oh, what are you thinking about? Thoughts? Really? Did I just say that? So where, break it down. Where do we stand?
I don't know if I'd be able to encapsulate or recap the 3-hour conversation that we did have, because I tend to get very tangential, and half of the conversation ends up with me Googling what she's explaining. So essentially she was getting into epigenetics, and she was breaking down how genes and DNA the expression of genes through our DNA, which I've also always been really fascinated with, particularly started following CRISPR. I don't know if you've heard of CRISPR.
CRISPR-9, yep.
Yeah, so she was the first one who told me about this before it started hitting the media waves, and that's typically where I hear things first, is from my sister. And that sparked a story that I started writing. It's one that is still sitting on the back burner because it's turning into much larger it's turning into a series now. It was originally going to be a film, but because CRISPR and that technology is unfolding and continually, becoming even more controversial now that they're moving into ethical zones and ethical conversations. That's usually where conversations go, is into her side of the conversation. We'll break down science that she thinks is going to help me probably just settle myself and be able to let go of the thoughts.
She wants you to chill.
She wants me to chill. And instead of chilling, I will go on to a clubhouse room and find a panel of neuroscientists and then ask them the questions that
I'm sure that's I'm sure that's how I met. Yeah, I saw you. I'm positive.
Probably. And in those rooms, what's funny, actually, I think maybe I had a second conversation after I chatted with you. But that first conversation with the neuroscientists, they ended up giving me a response that was more along the lines of like, yeah, that's spirituality. And then I was in a meditation room on Clubhouse, which is also really interesting to just sit in silence on an audio only app. But I started asking similar questions, obviously. And the lady who was running the meditation, who has more of a Buddhist and more of a Buddhist background, she ended up saying, oh, that's more of a science question. So both sides of the spectrum are kind of pushing towards one another, and I'm stuck in the middle.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't understand where thoughts come from.
But I know I'm not kidding. Now, granted, I was on a 5-day bender. I'm not going to say the name of that app, but granted, I was on the 5-day bender and was on there, barely ate or slept. But I know I was in a room that had like the guy from Yale, Anil, I can't remember his last name. And I swear there was like a guru or a yogi in there, and they were having a discussion. So those do merge, those discussions. And I think those discussions are a lot of fun. Abyss says, was she talking about CRISPR from a neuroscience point of view? Now, I will say this. having known Caleigh much longer than any of you, and I think she will be forgiving. I'm not trying to insult, but it's quite possible that she just went from one to the other because she likes to, you know, diverge, and it's, you know, it's really fun. But I'm going to let her answer the question.
Um, I will not claim that I was speaking from a neuroscience point of view because I am not a neuroscientist. My sister is, and I'm speaking from an actor's point of view who loves to listen to neuroscientists. So any tidbit that I can pull in to try to understand what I'm doing in my mind as an actor and as a writer, I think they kind of coincide, the activities for me. But I guess specifically what I was positing the other day was I was trying to understand, I guess, the flow of from wherever thoughts originate from and how they end up essentially manifesting into action or behavior. Because part of my background, my academic background, I studied media information technoculture. That's what I did my honors and my specialization in, but I was also doing that alongside my minor in psychology and philosophy. So those just tangentially have always been ongoing obsessions for me, a parallel study. So I recently found a breakdown of, I think it's Andrew Hubermas is the neuroscientist's name, who broke down the brain and a similar process that I'm trying to understand, the brain on a neurological level in 5 stages. And if I'm correct, they are starting off with sensation. So again, the information that we're taking in from the phenomenological world, like we originally were talking about with the 5 senses, and or whatever senses we have, how many we have, and then it moves to perception, which is essentially spotlighting or zoning in on, obviously I can't see the entire room. So just visually speaking, you are breaking down into more of a narrow focus. And then moving into feelings, and then having the feelings translate into thought, and then having the thoughts then become an expression of an action or a behavior. So very interesting for me as an actor to study that and to understand, if I'm jumping into a character, gives me an idea of what thoughts to play with to have them manifest in different mannerisms or gait or tonality or whatever it is I'm playing with for that character. But then I hopped into that panel of neuroscientists on Clubhouse, and one of them broke down the same idea, the same structure in 3 steps and reversed thoughts and feeling. And that is exactly where I continually get tripped up on, because it's like the chicken and the egg conversation. I never know which one comes first. And clearly all these neuroscientists that I asked, none of them had a clear answer. And they said that everybody sort of has their own model of how that works, which I don't understand how that's science. Like, isn't the whole point to find consensus?
Well, no, but but like science, it's like, the thing about science is when you're right, that's great, but you're only going to be right for a brief period of time until somebody else comes along, with a more thorough answer or a different answer, right? But I mean, there's not really it's okay. You want to be wrong in science because it's progressing, right? That's a simple way to think about it. But Abyss is in here saying we have way more than 5 senses. And Brett says, does neuroscience help inform the way you approach characters?
Does neuroscience help inform the way you approach characters? So, I guess every sort of study that I take on absolutely informs how I approach my own work. And every actor and writer has their own way of doing the work. I think, again, that comes down to the fact that we're also different in the way that we think. Yes, because it is an obsession for me. I'm fascinated with trying to, I guess, find truth. That's the easiest way that I've been able to understand it for myself. I am a seeker of truth, and I not only want to find out truth for myself, I want to be able to tell truthful stories. I want to be able to express human condition, the human behavior. And in order to do that, I will study it in every possible way that I can.
So, if there are any casting directors out there,
Oh
and
yeah.
you need, and yes, and yes, and you need someone to play a neuroscientist, or someone to play, like, someone with this um, complicated ideas around the nature of reality and existence, you got her right here. Just, get her in that movie because she's perfect for it. She's been studying for it for her whole life since she first pondered the way that she was moving the lines on the road. She's been gearing up for that role. So, also, if there are any screenwriters out there that want to write a movie for Caleigh to star in, along those lines, get it done, people. This is your chance to collaborate. Yeah, that's awesome.
I love collaborations. What's cool about these sorts of platforms, and meeting you on a similar one, I I have been now pooling a bunch of different Toronto. There are a couple that I met on Clubhouse who aren't originally from Toronto. I think some are from LA and some are from New York, but they got stuck here in lockdown and they're just looking to create and they want to collaborate, and they also just had questions. And so some of them, found a girl who likes to talk a lot and was offering whatever I had to share and started asking me questions in certain rooms, which is another interesting thing. I start getting turned into a moderator in rooms. I haven't started one myself, but I've been getting pulled up. I've been, I guess, recognized going into some rooms a couple of times. And so now I'm starting to meet other people who have similar questions and ideas and want to collaborate and want to know what the Canadian system is like as far as acting and writing goes. So yeah, I'm all about the collaboration. It has been taking up some of my sleep time these days.
Well, I must say, since you and I met, I definitely have been thinking, like, what else are we going to do together, like, on this platform or whatever, because it is like, it's just so, seriously, I know we'll talk. Mark says at Oshavel, I couldn't agree more. This is an incredible broadcast. Thank you, Revolution McInnes and Caleigh Legrand. I hope you will continue to broadcast on HAPS. You are amazing. And I think he's talking to you, Caleigh. So, yes, Mark, I agree 100%. I hope this is, like I said, just her first of many broadcasts. Thanks for the Creative Genius Award. And Abyss says, plus, well, go ahead. Let me let you answer, Mark. I don't want to get too far ahead.
Through neuroscience is an old field of study. Although neuroscience is an old field of study, some of the most profound findings are more nascent. It's also incredibly difficult to bifurcate from neurons to human behavior. Right? I want to pick this apart. I know that it's difficult, and so I don't know what. I think that is actually something I've recognized about my own particular nature, that as soon as something does feel challenging, to me it's kind of like, great, challenge accepted. Like, give me the impossible and I will just start digging through it, because I haven't figured out why, actually.
So Frank said we likely only had one or two senses initially on the surface of the flotsam and jetsam. We're just developing along with five-ish now. So Frank, are you saying that we're going to have more senses in the future? Like, what would we postulate those senses could be? I mean, it's certainly interesting that we can't see in infrared, for example, but that would be pretty cool to get a new sense. Now,
Yeah,
I want to live like a billion
that
years.
really cool.
Well, you know what? Like, you've got everybody, all of these people trying to, live forever and all of that. And I mean, what's going to happen is the day after I die, it'll be like everybody can live forever. I'll be like, ugh, I just missed it. That'll be so frustrating. But I think but what I would like to do, living forever, I mean, that does sound interesting for sure. And I don't want to die. But what I'd like to do is be able to wake up every like 100 years for a year, and see what the world was like. You know what I mean? Like, oh, wow, we made this advance and we made that advance. And then, okay, Mr. McInnes, time to go back to sleep for another 100 years or another 500 years and just cruise through history of the future and see what's happening. That, to me, would be the most glorious ride I could take, I think.
But maybe that's what life is.
Oh, well, yeah, I could. Maybe this is my 1 year.
Maybe this is, I mean, maybe it's not necessarily 1 year.
Right, right.
Well, we've already talked about how these social media platforms are also kind of screwing with our sense of time, but
Exactly.
that's another very fascinating area of study that I definitely started digging into. And I think I can actually pinpoint the first time that I started seriously thinking about uh, spirituality when I was 16. And I remember breaking down crying in under like a trellis in a park with my boyfriend at the time who was Catholic, and it was a serious relationship, and so we had like talked about the future and kids and bringing up the idea of raising them Catholic, and that's where I started to get all wonky, thinking like, okay, hold on a second, I'm not Catholic. I don't know a lot about the different religions that do exist in this world. But if I'm going to make a decision for whatever offspring I were to bring into the world and start to already cut off other options or like make a choice like that for another human being, then I need them to already have the study of every other religion. Like basically, that needs to be their choice. And this is where we started. This is the beginning of the end of that relationship. But this is where I started thinking like, what is my belief system? Because I didn't practice one particular faith alone, and I didn't know enough about the religions that did exist in the world to be able to make my choice on what I believe. So that was the start of me just digging into also religion, and I still don't really fit any box, I guess.
Well, there we go. And anytime you guys want us to transition back to a question or something, just jump in because it's going to jump around. Eleanor has jumped up there with a big statement there. We have at least 9. She's talking about senses we can agree on. The big 5: sight or vision, hearing or audition, smell or olfaction, taste or gustation, touch or tact. Oh, well, okay. Way to go, Revolution. Plus, thermoception, the sense of heat. Oh, duh. Yeah. There is some debate that the sense of cold may be a separate sense. Nociception, the perception of pain. Equilibrioception, the perception of balance. Okay. And proprioception, the perception of body awareness. Those are all things that if you don't have body awareness, that can make life very, very challenging. Some of the senses besides the 5, look at that. These two were thinking alike, include vestibular balance in the inner ear, just what you said, sense of space, and the extension of abduction and muscle spindles. Wow. Hey, Doe, what's up, Doe? Wait a minute. It's like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Thank you, Doe, for hanging out. So wow, okay. That just blows me away. What were we just talking about 30 seconds ago? Because my mind is getting blown.
We were talking about religion, but I am also fascinated by the fact that Abyss brought up the inner ear, the vestibular balance in the inner ear, because my sister has Meniere's disease, and that was my first understanding about the liquids that exist in our ear to help us feel balanced. And I don't have Meniere's, but I do. When I was in high school, I used to like walk into walls and pass out a lot because I didn't really know why. I was just
I did, and I knew why, but you know.
Well, see, I have reasons now. I've given myself some reasons, but I didn't realize that I had an iron deficiency. At least this is part of the reason I'm assuming that I have an iron deficiency problem, and oh my gosh, I can't even remember the word right now. I'm sure that somebody out there knows. Anemic. I'm anemic.
Anemic. Yeah.
And I only actually finally was, I guess, diagnosed with anemia when I became a flight attendant with Air Canada, and I actually failed my medical. So you have to do a bunch of tests and exams to pass learning how to do the security for different airplanes, but then you also have to pass a medical exam to prove that you're actually fit to fly and handle the job. and I didn't pass the first one. And it turned out that that's where they were able to tell that I had low hemoglobin levels in my blood count and that I was more susceptible to passing out at higher altitudes. I'm like, well, this explains some stuff for me because I've been like blacking out as a teenager. And I just thought it was normal that I would just get really dizzy sometimes and like fall over. I'm like, well, that was weird. I'm like, get back up.
You get used to it.
Yeah. Oh, the things you learn.
Nick says, I don't know how it's spelled, but have you heard of, I think you're saying vestigial, I think, maybe? Like, are you saying like vestigial, like organ or something? Like we have an extra body part or something? I'm not 100% clear there.
At first, I said Visa bagel, and I will spend all of my visas on all the bagels. But and maybe I should be careful to say that I'm saying bagels because I sound Canadian. I think
you do sound Canadian, but
it's a boot rate.
It's awesome. I love. It's very quaint. I don't want to sound condescending, but it's very quaint. I like it.
Well, if there are any American casting directors out there, I promise I can pull off an American accent.
Oh yeah, I bet you can. That's what I love. Oh, hey, I got to take a quick diversion because it always blows my mind. Like Battlestar Galactica. Did you ever watch that new series? Did you ever see that?
I had some friends who were on it, so I heard a little bit about it. But
okay, yeah. So there's an actor, Jamie Bamber, and he's Australian, right? But I mean, he's just a straight American accent. And I love when I accidentally stumble upon somebody from Australia and they're like, rip roaring into their Australian accent. And they're like, wait, no. You're baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet all the way, buddy. I can't believe it. The guy from The Walking Dead, the lead guy from The Walking Dead, he's not American. It's crazy. All of you foreigners.
Like, I thought they were all dead now.
Yeah, they are all dead. How do you do? Hey, I haven't seen that last season, so stop. How do you practice an American accent? We don't sound like anything.
We're Southern. They all do it as a Southern accent.
No. I mean, let's get serious about this. Obviously, hey, Eleanor, just settle down there a minute. Settle down, Eleanor. Just you sit down. Sit down. Be quiet. Okay? You let me talk. All right? Now just calm down right now, Eleanor. Settle down. Know your place. Okay.
Hey.
All right. Hey, sorry.
Woman.
Hey, I'm going to, you know what? Here's a Chicago accent. Hey, Caleigh, when you come to Chicago, have you been to Chicago?
Once or twice, yes.
Once or twice. So if you ever want to hear a Chicago accent, it's getting rarer and rarer. But find a Chicago cop. He's got to be white, and he has to have a mustache, just a mustache. No beard, no nothing, just a mustache.
The 70s mustache too.
Yeah, the 70s, like a stash, And he's probably been a cop since the 70s. And you go up to him and you just say hello, and he's like, ask him, just say, sir, what is that thing with bark and green leaves on it? Oh, that over there, that's a tree. Oh, really? Okay, and I'm holding up how many fingers, sir? Oh, you're holding up tree fingers. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely a Chicago accent that, it's very distinct. And, I'm from Chicago. So there's a beautiful Chicago accent. You don't hear it very much anymore. But that was my point. Like, there are actors that, because what they used to do, television and everything has changed. But what they used to do, my dad used to work in radio and television. And what they used to do is if you were a promising news anchor, right? Oh, and you were from Toronto and you had a serious Canadian accent, but like you're the next Tom Brokaw or something, they think, right? Actually, one of those guys probably is from Canada. And you come up, and they're like, oh, we really like this guy, but he doesn't know how to say the word about. So then they say, okay, here's what we do. We're going to send him to Indianapolis, Indiana for a couple of years. He's going to learn to talk like a Midwesterner. They don't send them to south of the they don't send them to the West. They don't send them in the South. They don't send them to the East. They send them to the Midwest to lose their accent. When you come to the Midwest, we are so banal. We are so boring that we don't even have an accent. And that's the American accent that I can't imagine how you replicate the boringness of a Midwestern accent.
Well, first of all, there are several classes that you can take. It's an entire field of study within performing arts. Um, I was having a conversation about this with some other friends and who are around the world, and so we were starting to pick apart each other's accents, and everybody said pretty much what you're saying. They said the same thing, that I don't think I have an accent. How do you do my accent, because I don't have an accent? We all think that we are neutral, and we're having a conversation about what would be a neutral accent. And
Right.
like you said, if the Chicagoan accent is kind of going away to the wayside, then maybe there is a continual blending of, and there has to be. I mean, even you go to all throughout Germany, and there are so many different dialects of German that some of them don't even understand one another. Or if I go over to France to visit my sister, she's not in France anymore, but she used to live there. And so when I would go over, we would meet in Paris. And because I learned French Canadian accent for my fiancé, and I lived in Montreal
Right.
for about 4 years or so. So I had the inflection of a Montrealian, and I would go to Paris, and it would take me a full week or two before Parisians would stop speaking English back to me as an insult because they hated my accent.
Oh, wow.
So there are so many different inflections, and understanding, like having an ear for that. I think sound engineers and musicians have a quicker ear to be able to pick up on the tonalities and the inflections. And obviously, as an artist, you try to. I mean, for me at least, I have to try to be able to shape my mouth in different ways to be able to pick up on if I'm going to go for certain shows. Like if I auditioned for Rain, which I don't think runs anymore, but I'd have to learn the RP accent to sound RP British. But my sister's boyfriend is British, and whenever he comes over now, I will humiliate him by being like, "Can you just repeat that? Can you repeat that again? Can you just," and then I'll just mimic everything
So-
that he's saying.
So now I got to ask you, I've made a lot of friends on here, and this will be good actually. Another good reason for you to be on the platform, because we have got people internationally from around the world, and you guys can practice accents. Where is Helen, by the way, with her Scottish accent? Because what I won't do, if you're from Scotland, like, because I do a terrible Scottish accent, but I like doing it, but I will not do it in front of a Scot. I will not embarrass myself like that. But
I only do it while I'm sitting there watching Outlander.
yes, right.
I'm sure it's horrible.
But so I have a friend who's is not posh, but her mother was not posh, but they came into some money and they moved to Bath, and now she speaks in a very posh accent, right? Whatever that accent is. But what's an RP accent?
Oh, I think it stands for Royal Pronunciation.
Oh, so it's a very upper crusty kind of accent?
Yeah, it's definitely not the Rain in Spain accent that Audrey Hepburn starts off with.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Different regions have their own inflections, and it's just still such a study for me because it's not my strength. Languages or accents are not my strength. Le français québécois est très difficile comme pour moi. Are you French Parisian? He's saying that the Quebecois French is difficult for him to understand.
No, he just learns languages because it's.
He's probably a polyglot or something. I'm telling you, Abyss is an IBM computer sitting in he's sitting on a platform in the middle of the Atlantic. He's just a bunch of servers and servos. No one's ever seen Abyss before.
I would understand if the Quebecois French is it is a bastardized version of French, and that's what the Parisians would say. And I understand. I get that. Like when I lived in Montreal, I remember that my understanding or my studies in French actually changed. I started off in French immersion in Ontario and then moved up to Montreal and realized that the French we were learning even in Ontario was not even as bastardized as, I guess, more slang. There was just so much more slang, and a lot of the Quebecois French speakers would use a lot of English words for their slang. So half of the words were also in English, but not English. So it's its own beast altogether, I feel like.
The Doe says received pronunciation is like Queen's English, and Doe, darling, is in Lincolnshire, and we have both agreed that one would not want to visit Lincolnshire, but I would like to visit Lincolnshire because I would get to meet Doe. But we have a lot of I'm loving that my friends from the UK are like up early or up late. This is awesome.
And I love
this is really great to see all of you.
Received pronunciation. I would love, Doe, if you know why it's called received pronunciation, I would love that background on it too.
What Crooked Muse L said, I can understand French, but the accent gets lost on me. Franglish, says Stephen the PM McMillan.
Franglish.
So the accents are something that's like that you struggle with. So I've been watching what I can of your acting and enjoying it very much. And the
thanks. Why now?
Yeah, no, are you kidding? Like, yeah, we never sleep. The English never sleep. It's like the Terminator. They're eventually they're going to get you. And forgot what I was going to say. That happens at my age. All right, so hang on one second. I want to, as they would say on that other thing, I'm going to reset the room for a second. So we've been here about an hour. I want everybody to know that we are with Caleigh from Toronto. And Caleigh is an actress, a writer, director, and like seriously, I'm not kidding you. In the last 5 days, I've made like 10 new BFFs. You know what I mean? And Caleigh is like the BFF of BFFs so far. It's really, really awesome. And we've talked about just about all kinds of stuff, and we're going to continue to talk about all kinds of stuff. And I know we said that if you want to go longer than an hour, you can, and we will, but I just want to make sure that it's been an hour to be conscious of time, because I know it's an hour later there. And, but I also know, like, what is there to do? We're all trapped inside. So, and if you are watching on, as Insatiable is, if you are watching on Twitter, or you're watching on Periscope, or you're watching on YouTube, or you're watching on Twitch, because I'm actually broadcasting to Twitch. Somebody go find my Twitch account and watch, please, because I don't think anybody's ever seen it. And if you're watching on any of those platforms, come over to Haps TV, because I guarantee you're going to get a chance to see Caleigh again and again on this platform, and it'll be a lot of fun for you. Come to Haps TV, join in, come up here and talk with us. And if you want to become a broadcaster, you can get sponsors. You can get somebody to give you a tip. We have this great little tip system. If you like what we're talking about, you can tip us with an award. If you like what somebody else is talking about on another channel on here, definitely tip them. And I will stop with the self promotion. I can see that Caleigh is like, you fit right in. You're on it.
I'm making friends.
Yes, you are making friends. This is awesome. Oh, follow Caleigh on here. Follow her. She's on here, right? You got to register to be on here. So she has a few subscribers, but follow her. You're also on Twitter, and you have your IG on there too, I think. Is your IG public? I can't remember.
I have Instagram, I have Twitter, and I'm now on Clubhouse. I don't know if I have them connected on here. I'm still figuring out the technicals.
Yeah, well, we'll help you. We can and anybody on here will be happy. You don't have to depend on me for tech support. I'm happy to do it. You know that. But anybody on here that's been here a while, you can ask them. I got to go back to Insatiable here said something. Time has no meaning. Oh, you really want to go down that road, do you?
Oh, who's bringing this up right now?
This is Insatiable. Says, insignificance is insignificant, says Insatiable. Is she, is a comment. And hi, Hallie, there. Appreciate it nonetheless, but you do have cheesecake. Okay. Rev, what is your name on Twitch? Oh, Cosmic Rose, how are you? I love you. Seriously, I do. You know that. I am at RevMac Live on Twitch. Let's see if Twitch is up and running. So everybody, this is now officially RevMac Live, and this is the big interview. And you can follow me on Twitter at RevMac Live. You can follow me on Clubhouse at RevMac. And you can find me, you will be able to find me on Instagram at RevMac Live as well. But my personal account is, kind of closed, but I'm going to make a new one. So, yes. And apparently we've been challenged.
What does that mean?
Codename Cocoa Beam. Interesting. Cocoa Beam is here. Okay. How you doing?
Challenged. What does that mean?
Well, I know. I just think somebody's I think somebody's laid down a challenge about time has no meaning. So I think they're egging us on to talk about time. So what kind of conversations do you enjoy about time?
Way. I think time is meaning. I think all there is meaning. And to be more precise about that, the world is empty and meaningless, and it is empty and meaningless that it is empty and meaningless. So the only thing that does exist is the meaning that we build for ourselves. We started off talking about how the brain even builds almost in a predictive sense an anticipation of the world that is going to come. It tells a story the same way that you watch a movie and you think you're watching actual movement, but those are frames, still frames just moving at a high speed. And so you think that you're watching something be played out. So we can dig deep into illusion if we want to. That's kind of, for some reason, all of the work that I do is exactly that. No matter what you're watching, I could just be playing, cheerleader number 3, but that's probably the backstory I've given myself.
RevMac Live on Twitch, either offline or someone else has it. You know what? It may not be hooked up even right, because I just signed up for that one today. All right, so wait a minute. So Abyss might be able to help me with this. Caleigh might be able to help me with this. So the best explanation of time I have had, which is a very simplistic explanation, but I still don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off. So, because it had to do with the way that the universe is and like the folding of space and space-time. So if you think about it this way, if I can get my fingers up here, well, anyway, you can pretend the beginning of time, and well, let's just take a chunk. Let's go from 1,000 years ago to 10,000 years in the future. It's all here. It's all there. It's all here at the same time. And you can't, time, right? But it all exists in one kind of state. And if you could fold space, you could literally go to another state that would be perceived as being in the future. Somebody can do that better than me, but it's just an absolutely fascinating subject, and it gets way above my pay grade really quickly.
I have gone down the rabbit hole of trying to understand what it means that there is only now, because I know that my mindset, like others, I'm sure, will get stuck in the past sometimes or anticipate the future and give me anxiety. So I've done a lot of work to understand or bring myself back to a place in the now. Like even before we hopped on here, I sat and I meditated. I had to close off Clubhouse because I was on another room. I had hopped on. I finished my audition early. So I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to go talk to people while I have time. And I realized that I was getting caught up in, distractions, and that I could just take this time to sit in stillness and in silence. And the moments that I give myself like that always bring me to, not always, but often have brought me to an understanding or a place of understanding that I still haven't been able to fully put into words. And I love that because it's grounding in a sense that I can use it for before I go into auditions or before I go into a scene, if I'm acting, or even when it comes to writing, being able to allow all of the thoughts again to go by you on a highway and to not get caught up in them is an interesting practice, to be able to just sit in the now.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm sorry. I'm just I don't know how this got started, but Eleanor says to phone me, Taco Cat backwards is Taco Cat. Thank you, Eleanor, for that. That just cracked me up.
You're welcome.
That is amazing.
Oh, good Lord. Brett says, I've always felt time is simply a realization of movement from one point to another. Without motion, time cannot be represented. I would like to get my time back then, please, somebody.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that, because I am also very fascinated with the idea of momentum.
Hey, one sec. If anybody wants to come up and join us, I don't bring guests up the first hour, but if somebody wants, Brett, come up, man. Come up and say hi. Abyss, I don't know if you actually ever do come up. Foamy Homie, can you physically come up? I mean, you're a puppet, right? I'm not sure. But you can come up, Foamy Homie, if you want. Anybody, just hit me up with an invite, and we will bring you up here. We can have like up to 8 people at a time. We can all start to have a dialogue. Let's show Caleigh how much fun it can be to have a bunch of people up here. So here's Eleanor. Who's going to come up next? Bernadette is here. Rose, you got to get on Haps because you should come up here. Brett, come on up, buddy. I'm giving you an invite. You don't have to. I know you've had a long day at work. Frank, you want to come up and talk? Somebody, let's go. Let's see.
Somebody coming up. I want to grab a book because you said something that reminded me of a sketch I drew. Give me 1 second.
No problem. Now's a good time while the guest is gone, because I never smoke weed in the first hour, for me to smoke some weed.
I can hear you.
But see, we can edit that out in the second hour.
I thought this was live.
It is live, but, you
started talking about folding space. And
yes.
From one of my, I don't know if you can see this, but from one of my meditation sessions, I ended up drawing like essentially what I consider to be the folded, like gravitational pull, essentially. This is my representation of, there's a lag here. Here we go. So this is like me meditating, and I have a ton of weird notes in this. I leave myself floor notes all the time, but that was me trying to understand the gravitational pull of a mass and how the gravitational pull around, say, even a mountain is actually just a little bit different than if you are on flatlands, and understanding the gravitational pull of a planet and the relationship between our planet and the moon. I am not a scientist. Clearly, I'm a fine art artist.
Hi, Harry Morton says hi from Space Coast, Titusville. What's up, Harry Morton? Do we follow each other? Hang on a second. Anybody in Titusville, got to be my friend. We're subscribing right there. Everybody subscribe to Caleigh, please. Caleigh, put your name in the comments there. Just make a comment, and then that way people can subscribe to you. Because you can just say hi or whatever you want to. Do it a couple times so that, because sometimes the thing moves quickly. Rev, I'm reading comments, and that is my good buddy X Abyss. It is Abyss. Yes, it is your good buddy Abyss. Awesome. Oh, hi, Mark. There you go. And seriously, hey, little pound cake. Thanks for the
reference.
Thanks for the high award. What's that?
If anybody gets that reference, I'm going to be really happy.
Oh, let's see.
Oh, hi, Mark.
No.
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 We'll come back to it later. We'll see.
Okay, good. Oh, good. Okay, so let me say this. Again, somebody come up here. Somebody come have some fun with us. There's
an ambergram, Rev.
What is it?
Something yet. An ambergram.
An ambergram?
Something earlier while we're waiting for people to come up. You started saying that you started watching some of my work, and now I want to know what you have seen of mine.
Well, I've seen all of your trailers, but the short with you Oh my God, it is so wild. I swear to you, Caleigh, I was probably watching it at like 3 a.m. or something. It's with the plumber.
Oh, I know what it's called.
Yeah, I hope you know what it's called.
Joey Boy.
Joey Boy. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'm watching this and this, I mean, seriously, Google it, right? How do you find it? Like I'm watching this thing and it goes from like, just like a regular story. I'm not going to spoil anything because it's short, but I had no idea where it was going to go. It was very fun
Oh,
and, very fun. And I know do you have something that is, you have something that's not out yet that's coming kind of soon? I can't remember because I was trying to find everything I could on you.
I am actually going into pre-production right now for another short film, and I have. I'd say that that's the next thing that I'm diving into as far as film goes. I am likely going to be pumping my podcast back out, but now that Haps is a thing, I think I'm going to talk to my co-host about maybe moving it over to here and structuring things a little bit differently. I also am going to be starting a regular room or a show on Clubhouse with another filmmaker about indie filmmaking and taking everybody through the process of how to make an indie film. But yeah, the next piece of work that I'm going to be both directing and acting in is a short film.
Awesome. And what is, so wait a minute. Oh, this is interesting now. So are they, cause I was talking to, so Heather Chrysler, she's a stage actor here in Chicago, and she is, her husband just wrote a short for her that's on the festival circuit, and they've won a few awards, and it's not out yet. But she's got like 2 or 3 irons in the fire, but like nobody's talking about them because they don't know if and when they're going to be able to get going. But are you seeing that the industry are they finding some new ways to try and do things? Like I'm wondering, like, are they just, in some cases, are they just going to have like the actors and everybody live together for 3 months and, kind of quarantine people, or yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what we're doing. So it has been continually shifting with the regulations surrounding the pandemic. And most of the time, it depends also where you're coming in from. So like I had a buddy who just came back up, was living in LA. Actually, a lot of my LA actor friends are now coming back to Canada just for the time being. And you would have to quarantine for 14 days. Everybody who does go on set is regularly being tested. And yeah, you're not allowed to see anybody else for the time period that you are shooting. You'll spend those 30 days or however long. Obviously, schedules are also affected. So as far as crews go, a lot of the shows that are still running, I think that there are a lot of people as part of like IATSE, the union crew members who used to depend on overtime, or at least because their lifestyle now fit the extra money that they were getting from the overtime hours. We don't have that for them anymore because it can't be run the same way. You have to have staggered lunches and staggered schedules. That means they just weren't, everything has been shifted. So the entire industry is running at a different pace, and it is a lot more, everything's isolated. You go do a project, you are on that project alone. Not alone, but like with that
team.
Yeah, even
actors
can only have up to 10, I believe. So it's changing the way that if you want a large crowd as a background, you're going to have to figure out a different way of doing that, either doubling up CGI, doing more post work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of, because I've been talking to actors lately, to bring on the show, and there's definitely a lot of, theater actors and film actors too, I'm sure, but I know it specifically from, having been friends with theater people for a long time. They get a play and they bond, you know what I mean? Like, it just become a family. And so this to me just will make the acting better when you're forcing the actors to be together all the time, because they're just going to know each other's, cues and everything. But do you think it's going to be better to live together? Or are you going to drive each other crazy, or
Yeah.
not live together but be together?
Well, that's
so
the
much.
thing. You're not going to have the same kinds of bonds, and you are not spending that same kind of time together. And I love the
Gotcha.
theater world and how, I mean, it's a very different kind of beast as well. It's a different art form. I was fortunate
Totally, yeah.
to do a film that was a one-take film, and so we actually did rehearse it like a theater piece, and then literally shot it from beginning. Had to do the. It's not like we're doing scene by scene, and I could just learn the lines for that scene. We learned the whole thing like a play, and then we filmed it. We did that about 3 times and took the best takes that we could from it. But yeah, it's not. Like the only 2 actors that are going to be for this is a very specific example, but the actors are the only ones that are even maskless. Everybody else is wearing PPE, and you're putting your masks back on when you're not there. You're still keeping your distance. You're not spending a lot of that time together, and everything is slowed down, and you have to wipe everything down in between takes, depending especially on what you're shooting. I had a friend who was doing a cooking show. So now you're introducing a whole bunch of other airborne materials and, actors having to eat on set. It's not the same. I don't think you'll still have bonds because you are working together and making certain connections, especially the actors. Maybe they will still have, I guess that maybe the strongest bonds because they are maskless and connecting, and you have to still do that work. You still have to get to that level, but it's just, at least right now, it's not the same. I don't know what it's going to transition into. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the normal that we used to know. I think everybody's right to say that we have a new normal and that it's going to continually be a new normal. I mean, that's also life. Everything has been continually shifting, even from taking a look at the streaming platforms that we have now and the dinosaur structures that we used to go to. We can't go to the theater anymore. Old Hollywood is not a thing. Everything changes. So I think.
And the theaters survived for thousands of years, I suppose, right? So.
Yeah, hopefully they'll come back and maybe be something sort of nichey. I think maybe we'll have a wave like it happened in the 20s when everybody was wearing flappers and going out and having a ball and actually getting dressed up and making a performance out of it, like making it a big deal.
I think drive-in theaters are really hating that they're still not around right now.
I've started to see some of those pick up in Canada, at least. I haven't actually gone to them myself, but it seems like that's a popular option now.
Yeah, we had I live in Colorado, and we have Red Rocks, which is a huge outdoor amphitheater, usually for like music, but they turned it like not where the stage is, but below it into a drive-in movie theater this summer.
Well, that's so cool.
People couldn't go to the theater, and they used to do like movies on the rocks or something like that you could go into the stadium and like watch it from they'd like put it on the stage, and they just kind of moved it into the parking lot.
Very good one, Frank. Very good one, Frank. If your sister lives in the mountains and you live at sea level, she gets older faster. Yeah, I love that one. I also learned the other day that if you when you jump, you actually almost infinitesimally, but you actually move the earth when you land. You know what I mean? Like it it actually moves it just a little. So that's really cool. Are there any shows that are just keeping it real and having actors wear masks in the work? I feel like this time period is not really being represented because people want to see faces. But you know what, Brett?
They did on This Is Us.
Before she answers that, I get uncomfortable now when I watch a movie sometimes and there's a big room of people. I've said this several times, like, where are your masks? Put on your masks, people. You know what I mean? Like, I can't watch this. Nobody's wearing a mask. And it's been a year and I freak out if people aren't. Like right now, we're not wearing masks. This is like, I'm not really in public, but whenever I'm in public, everybody's got masks. So.
Yeah, and some shows have been, I mean, that was a huge conversation as far as writers' circles went. what do we do now? Are people going to be turned off if we have intimate scenes? Are people going to even like shrug just watching people shake hands? I remember listening to an episode of Script Notes, one of my favorite podcasts, which is run by two LA writers, John August and Craig Mazin. Really great podcast if anybody's into that, and they're hilarious together. Really good banter, and they come with a lot of expertise. And so those are some of the questions that were being sent in. What somebody actually made a parallel to the Twin Towers and how so many projects that either had already shot and had images in them couldn't release anymore or wanted to reshoot, or the way that the zeitgeist was around this symbol that had once existed. And now the way that we interact symbolically is going to be understood in a particular way. And yes, we've been living through this pandemic for so long now that I'm noticing even just the way that I hold my jaw has changed because of certain masks that don't fit right, that I'll stick my jaw out to hold it off my nose so I can breathe properly, or so that like my sunglasses don't get fogged up if I'm wearing glasses. And so our behavior is shifting, and it's ingrained in us. We're dreaming about people wearing masks. I don't know if anybody else is, but at least I am. So being considered in the writer's room. And some shows like I can't remember the exact example, but if you think of the procedural shows like a firefighter show or a hospital show, ones where they actually could write it in and have it be believable, they just did. They just started having episodes where the characters were going through pandemics and people were wearing masks, and that actually saved a lot of money and time, and they were able to keep going with schedule. Whereas other shows that it just didn't make sense, they lost so much money that had already been invested, lost so much scheduling, and everything was kind of in the gutter, and they had to rewrite.
That makes sense.
It would be really weird to watch Outlander with masks, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's not going to work. But it'd be interesting to see what's happened in Asia, where they adopted the mask a long time ago. Right? Did it go through a transition of, well, everybody wears a mask in their television and in their films, and then did it kind of go back? Where is it going to end up? I think it'll probably be a hybrid, like we're discussing here. But that's pretty fascinating, and I see how that would save money, right? If you can wear a mask, if everybody can wear a mask in the scene, then you're much better. But like, what are we going to do? Like, I've said this with I'm really worried about the wee little ones, because we take so much from facial cues, right? Emotions and everything. Like, I can tell what you're thinking, how you're feeling, how you're perceiving. You can see that from me too. I mean, that's what makes this medium, powerful right now. We can see each other. And what is it going to do to the little ones? I mean, obviously they adjust. Humans are pretty resilient. But what's it going to do to the little ones when a good chunk of their day, especially a child that's being put right into daycare, and a good chunk of their day is spent by looking at someone who you can only see their eyes? And that, like I said, that kind of bothers me. Well, it does. It bothers me a lot. But the all of those things, that we're starting to think of like this, it's from acting to anything. It's really, it's a lot. There's a lot there to unpack.
I mean, I can only imagine what is going to happen. I remember thinking the exact same thing when I was going for a walk through a quarry, with my cousins. They were part of my bubble for the first half of the pandemic, and then we ended up isolating even further. So I actually don't see them unless I am wearing a mask now. But they were originally my bubble, and we went for a walk in a quarry with camera gear to take pictures. And even though it was such a vast space, we were up through forest, like a small trail through the forest on a mountainside, and a kid came up. I guess there was a family behind us, trailing behind us, and got close enough that the kid was pretty young, and she didn't really, she had no inhibition to kind of run up to me and get very close. And I had no idea how to react because I didn't want to, you don't want to yell at a kid to get away, or like, stay, or even like move back and give them the wrong impression of this person who is not going to be open and receiving and a kind human being. I was like a deer in headlights trying to figure out what the positive response was going to be now, so that I wasn't going to create a negative response situation that would go on to be ingrained in this kid's mind. I would obviously.
Right, you want to scar the kid for life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, her mother ended up calling her and getting her to go back. But it was just such a weird moment for me to be like, I'm also naturally just, I guess, a warm and bubbly person to anybody, really, so long as they don't seem like a threat to me. And this kid who I wanted to like let her play with my camera and say hi, and I couldn't. It was so strange.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I think we're really lucky here in Chicago. Well, I guess it doesn't have anything necessarily to do with Chicago, but I rode my bike from May until October. I rode about 2,000 miles on the lakefront in Chicago, 20, 30 miles. And I didn't wear a mask. Hardly anybody on the trail wore a mask. And I'm pretty sure we had COVID here early on, but I don't know what's going to happen, like this summer, because everything's worse now. And I don't want to get us bummed out on this conversation, but but everything's like going to be worse now than it was last summer. So it's kind of crazy. Some of us who are not neurotypical have been learning to do that much of our lives. I think you're talking about seeing people differently, perceiving people differently, masks and things like that. I think that's what you're talking about, Eleanor.
I would love to hear more about that. I think that's super fascinating too. Especially, I mean, the idea of not being neurotypical. I think that was a term that I only learned recently within the past probably 5 years or so, and understanding sort of what that means, because I have always not only considered myself a bit of an anomaly, but have always, I guess because I've been told my whole life that I am an anomaly. And I remember as a kid,
was that helpful or not?
well, here's the thing. First of all, this is going to jump on top of, I think I'm going to pile on a couple of things that we're talking about, because you were worried about having the conversation become kind of a downer. And I think this fits with my understanding of even what an anomaly means. So my mom called me an anomaly when I was very young, and I learned that word at a young age, but never had any kind of a negative connotation associated with it. And so I continually heard people call me an anomaly, but then started to understand contextually that they all kind of had a different idea of what that meant about me. And
that circles back to several things we've talked about. Yes.
Yeah. And I think it comes back to perception. I don't know if we're talking about perception in this conversation or in our pre-interview, but I am so fascinated with, we can bring it back to my fascination with thought alone. I think where the lens that we use through which we see the world and our perception, our stance on it is what kind of feeds into maybe this law of attraction, what brings in experiences. If our brain is telling us stories of what the world is so that we can just anticipate it enough to not fall in a hole that we're walking towards, then there's something there that is like, there's a space that is some sort of nice edge between, not necessarily, it's not a space of like where I'm trying to control thought, but if thought is something that maybe comes from, let's say, the ether, let's say from the gods, let's say that thought is a gift that comes from beyond, and we're just trying to run through the fields to find a pen and paper to catch it and put it down so that we can tell our stories and pass it along. that there is an agency in that we do have some sort of capability of running through the field and grabbing the pen and writing it down and passing that along and sharing our stories and letting our shared stories go on to affect other people and affect their thoughts and having it come from without them and mix with whatever is internal for them. I think that we get to choose how we take in the stories that we're consuming, the media that we're continually bombarded with, the relationships that we have. And I think that that's why I'm so curious about the way that I also, treat that little girl, treat other people, because I have spent my whole life recognizing how I feel and how other people make me feel, and living in a space of just being so curious to understand what another person's stance is or what another person means when they are calling me an anomaly, and then how that changes my perception of it, my understanding of it, and my understanding of myself. I love trying to unearth the symbiotic relationships between two people, or between even just me and an inanimate object, me and the world, me and nature, nature at large.
Well, I think the this idea of even how, circling back to thought, even how, I don't know if I was talking to you about this, we might have been, but I was talking to somebody about this idea that some of us have, the internal monologue. Some of us have multiple internal monologues. Some of us actually hear a voice. We would perceive it as our own voice in our heads. Some of it, what is that? Synesthesia, where people see colors and all of these things. But what you perceive, because our things match, we think our things match so closely. But one of the things that I would like to be able to do in this universe eventually is I'd like to be able to swap that with you. And you see what I see, and I see what you see.
Really?
That would be so
As neurodivergent, I would
cool.
extremely love that, because my whole life I've been trying to make sure I am projecting the correct emotion and caliber of excitement or sadness or whatever that feeling that would be normal for a situation that I am, because I don't get it the same way everybody else does. I'm on the spectrum, and it's just a little harder for me. So I'm constantly trying to mask it, and I have to be really aware of what's going on around me and the other people I'm trying to match my normalness to them. If that makes sense. I'm trying to match the correct emotion and reaction to a situation. Because sometimes I don't always have the right one, and I'm used to being the oddball out at this point. But it'd be really interesting, I think, to just be able to, what you said, Rep, change that with someone where I don't have to think about it. It just happens naturally, because I have to think about it.
See, I find that so fascinating that you have a want to, and I don't know if I'm saying that I don't have this want, but to want to swap places. And even just the way that you're describing, I resonate with what you're saying. I've definitely been in situations where I feel like I am trying to gauge the situation. I'm trying to gauge how other people feel. I'm trying to gauge what they're talking about. I'm trying to gauge where they're coming from on that topic and where they're going with the topic, and how whatever I contribute is going to harmonize in a way or contribute with the information that I'm giving, or that whatever my reaction is going to be not only, I guess, not necessarily well received, but interpreted in a way that makes me feel heard, that makes me feel like I am expressing myself in an honest way and actually getting the truth of what I want to share out, and understood. And here's the other part, is that you can't control how people understand or how they think, right? So, but to also be of some sort of value, of some sort of service in that offering in a way that is not going to leave the person damaged or affected in a negative way, and not necessarily.
Yeah, mine's actually more like I'm not hoping to like respond in the correct way. Like I have trouble picking up on what a person might be feeling. I don't read those social cues the same way or at all sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't respond like as people would expect, and I'll upset them or like hurt when I'm not meaning to. I don't pick them up like other people do. I'll miss them, and people will think that like, you know, they'll be telling me something sad, and I'll like have a stupid grin on my face or something. And it's not that I'm like smiling or happy that they're like, it's just I process it completely different. I don't really know like naturally, like people respond naturally, like without really thinking with I'm very empathetic to people, so I don't want it to sound like I'm not. I just don't know how to like emotionally respond sometimes to people. Like I'm trying to match what the other people are doing, just so I'm not like coming off like an asshole. Sometimes I guess it is, or like you know, or I have no feeling about it, because I think sometimes it does come off that way, and it hurts people, and I'm like, no, like I didn't have to like explain myself, and it's so much easier to just try to be typical. Just try to do like what everybody, like what you're expected to like react, and I usually only get that by like watching the people around me.
Yeah,
I think that makes you, in a lot of ways, that you have to think about it. To me, it's fascinating because I think that it would be interesting to think about it. Like, I think some of us probably should think about it a little more, because maybe I'm not actually picking up on the right thing. I mean, you have to work harder at it, but you know, maybe you're more accurate, you know, I mean, who knows the way that it could be, but I definitely think that I know how you would want to see it, how it would feel good and easy for you to do it this way, but I also find that the way that, because I didn't know that about you, that's fascinating to me, because having to put effort into it is something that so many of us don't necessarily do. And the interesting thing too about neurotypical to me is, and I definitely 100% feel the neurotypical idea. But that does not that aside, it's like, I don't even know what typical is anymore. Like, what is typical? We've learned so many different things about ourselves. Like, I think the typical people are the weird ones now.
Yeah, you guys are weird. We've always known you're weird.
I think that I spend a lot of time there, not just professionally. Like, obviously, I love studying the way that different people react differently, take information in differently. I love character work in that sense. And so I spend a lot of time, I think, doing the exact same thing that you're talking about, trying to understand the behavior, the appropriate behaviors, the inappropriate. I mean, like when we're talking about in terms of maybe the social conditioning or the zeitgeist or whatever, like what's culturally appropriate, what's socially appropriate, and then understanding how different people with different factors and different neurological compositions would react differently under different circumstances. So I obviously love that as an actor and a writer, just character work in that sense. But even just in my own life, I not only recognize my obsession with it, but especially during the times of isolation, I have been recognizing more and more how much I get caught up in that thought, and how much I have been trying to understand. I think I've been feeling very strange about how my emotions, how the way that I feel about certain things don't feel like they match up with the stimulus anymore, because I used to have stimulus of, even, I think I can use, romantic situations as the most prominent example, because I think those are obviously situations or relationships that we feel the most heightened of emotions in. And we usually have, the stimulus is obviously very different. So if somebody is now isolated, or you're having, like, let's say, a long distance relationship, or even just meeting somebody online, we have so many different ways to meet people on, dating apps even, and you can start to find a feeling of a connection that, to me, that feels, I'm very confused by it, because let's say, like, a romantic feeling or sexual feelings are meant for in person. To me, in my mind, that's how I understand that naturally you are in a state of excitement because of something that's happening physically. But now I'm understanding that so much has to do with your state of mind, or just the thoughts that are at play, because we are at a distance. And even just, talking to my mom on the phone and having a warm-hearted conversation, I still have warm feelings, but she's not here in the room with me. And it's kind of mind-boggling for me, because it doesn't feel as real. And I'm trying to not let myself stop myself from feeling and telling myself, oh, it's not real, it's just a phone. Like, I'm immediately zapped back into loneliness or isolation, not loneliness, but like solitude. And it's just very jarring for me.
It's interesting because, like, one thing that COVID has let me do, or like for myself, like I suffer from like pretty severe agoraphobia, which is like I have this great fear of like leaving my own home, like sometimes my own room. It almost prepared me to be like a leader during the COVID times, because everybody found themselves like, on their own, like by themselves in their and learning how to do that. And I'm like, I've been doing that for years. I got this. But it's been interesting, like being able to like be there for certain friends, like and like check up on them, and like be kind of like what I wish they had almost been for me, but they didn't know how to do that, because people were social by like our norms. We're supposed to be social. We're supposed to want to go out and be with people. Where I had I experienced a traumatic event, and it's a PTSD trigger response is what my agoraphobia is. And it was just nice to like be able to like almost be like anyone in my like bubble. I was like, it's normal that you're gonna feel this way, like, but I could walk them through it. I made sure I was calling up on them, and like just, I don't know, it felt like I had a task, and I was like ahead for once, because usually I always feel like I'm like lacking, like compared to everybody out there doing the normal stuff. So it's been strange what COVID has done, because I've experienced those things. Like I build connection through things like this and on the internet, because I don't go out there and do it in like real life anymore, really. I experienced those things like since it's been since 2012 with people. Like I experienced these bonds, like, and I make these deep relationships, and people like never even met the people. I'm like, yeah, but I have. I've met them sometimes and gotten into conversations with them deeper than I have with the people in my real life. Because we're so separate, we're sharing more, I think, with each other and actually opening up, because if we don't, we're not having any kind of experience. We do need that as like humans. We're tribal.
Well,
we need that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very much wired for, you were also saying, Caleigh, like this idea around feelings, emotions, sex, all of these things, right? We're also distanced from, but I've definitely learned in my life, and I know this has happened, is that, with texting, for example, and you meet somebody online and you start to text, and like a day and a half in, you're like, wow, I wouldn't be talking about that in real life in a day and a half. Oh, we just had sex, didn't we? You know what I mean? It was on texting. Like, it's only been 2 days. You know what I mean? Like, everything seems to happen in some accelerated way when we're taking something out of it. But you cannot tell me that the emotions aren't genuine, that the connections aren't genuine, because they really, they really are. Like, I have online friends, I've had them for a decade. Some of them I've seen in real life, a lot of them I haven't, and I would not differentiate between an IRL, a person I physically meet, and an online friend anymore. You know what I mean? A friend is a friend, and that's just it's fascinating.
Yeah, well, I would not differentiate between finding something that feels like a connection and that, I've definitely met people online. It's weird even just using the word meet, because to me, I guess just the etymology of it is that it comes from an understanding that you physically met, but
Right.
things have changed so much. And yes, I've made connections with people with whom I've never met in the flesh. And I think especially when, jumping back to the idea that our brains fill in part of the story for us to maneuver in the world. Well, now we're filling in even more of story because we don't have, say, physical interaction, or we're meeting people and we already have had physical relationships. And so we can fill that part of the story in because we know how it goes. That being said, because we have previous experience or associations that we can make in those instances to think, oh, we're at this stage now, or we're at that stage, and we can form relationships that feel more intimate and more romantic in a sense. What's interesting about that is that the more space that we have to fill in, so, if we are going from just texting, or if it's a phone call and now we have a level of audio and we can distinguish the variability in someone's voice and the tonality, or now we have video and audio. And so now not only are you able to hear my voice, but you can start to see sort of the way that I move and get an idea of what I'm communicating through my body language. And so there's more and more offerings. But if we take those levels away and we break it back down to just texting, for instance, you now have to fill in all those other levels of meaning that you would have been painting with audio offerings and video offerings. That's all up to you now. You're the artist and you're painting me and you're making your own imagination of what our relationship is, and vice versa. I have to do the same thing. So what's interesting to me is that if we are creating more of a gap and creating more of the need for ourselves to fill those stories in, how do we know that our stories match up? There's more space for miscommunication. There's more space for the stories to not match up. And at the end of the day, what has led me down this path to understand what reality is, and why I've been obsessed even more so in these pandemic times, is that has just highlighted the fact that even if we are in the flesh and we are connected, we are actually physically touching. So the distance, mind you, I'm sure you can get scientific and say that you're always just getting closer and closer and closer, and the point doesn't exist that you touch. But so you're taking away that space and connecting closer and closer. That still doesn't mean that our stories in our heads are matching up. That my idea of what our relationship is the same idea that you have in your mind about what our relationship is. And that is mind-boggling. So at the end of the day, whatever the truth is just what you internalize, the way that you create meaning for yourself. And when you find people that you do resonate with, that you know that you don't hold the exact same thoughts or share the same understanding of exactly what that relationship is, but that you hold that space anyway, and that you appreciate that person for all of the reasons that you do find similarities with them, and for all of the reasons that they are different from you, that they offer you contrast to learn, that you things that you would never learn had you not met them, because you're just stuck with yourself otherwise. I think that there's again, it goes back to perception, how you look at it.
Go ahead, Eleanor. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I think, I don't know, for myself, like, just because we're physically with someone doesn't mean we're really even like communicating with them. Though, like,
Yeah.
through now we're actually communicating. We're expressing more of ourselves, where we can sit in a room with someone and be physical with them and not say a freaking word and really be screwed up as to, wait, what's going on here? Like, and without that communication, you're never going to know, wait, what's going on here? Like, so I think there's something to say for the communication we are all having now, because I think we had gotten so used to just being, on our phone or, in our little bubble, not paying attention to people. And we're now finding that we can't, be physically there with each other. So we're wanting to be verbally and be on like videos just with people. And I think, at least I see it like with the people like in my like the bubble, my friends and stuff that I'm watching, that, my friends call me up now and they do the FaceTime. Like, we weren't FaceTiming before. For years we weren't FaceTiming, but now we need that because we don't have the ability to be physically near. So it's interesting seeing.
Hey, did you see my ring?
Seeing that become like more of a thing,
Okay,
and I think there's something to say for communication rather than just, the physical and on our screens how we were. I think maybe we could actually come to something a little bit more healthy after this, when we can get back with people and we keep the communication up, because that's what's key in like figuring out like our perceived realities. Ask the questions.
You don't have to. I can do audio only, too.
Yeah, it's funny how
I'm talking to an actor
I
in Canada.
love to talk. I love communication, and I will talk for hours. I mean, I started a podcast probably just because I love talking so much.
No?
Like, it's funny how
You can do
what
it.
I crave so
Come into the
deeply
room
now
at least. I
is
won't
to
put you
just
on.
sit in silence
Then you can decide.
with another human being and
Sign
just
up and then
explore
go to the
them with
other link.
no words. Just see them and touch their face and breathe in the same air. It's like the most simplistic idea, but my God, I want that so bad now.
Right?
Hey, I'm chatting with my 18-year-old today. Right now, she's 18. For the
Happy
next
birthday!
45 minutes, then she'll be 18 plus 1 day. So I'm getting her signed up on Haps. She's not sure if she's going to want to come in the room, or we might only do audio, or we might only do chat. But I want her to enjoy this conversation. And I tried calling her a couple of times a day, and we didn't get through. So hopefully she'll be joining us. But anyway, keep the conversation going.
Very cool. Is she signing up right now?
Oh yeah, she's signing up right now.
That's amazing. I'm still I feel like I'm starting to get training wheels of understanding where things are even situated on here.
Well, hang on then. Hang on. We're going to do this. The only thing you don't want you to do is click the end broadcast, but don't worry about that. You won't do it.
Oh,
now you have
more controls. I don't know if that's a safe.
Yeah, no. Now you have director control. So go click on my picture, like on the blue part. Click on the blue part.
The blue, like, okay.
Just anywhere where I am, just click on the blue box. And there, I disappeared, see?
Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to click you again, and are you going to come back? Ah!
Yep, I'm back.
Okay, I'm back.
So you've got director control now.
So I noticed you guys were moving things around as this broadcast has been happening.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like a drag and drop situation?
No, so basically, let's see, where am I? So hit underneath me, hit 1. See the number 1?
Yes.
That'll put me in the number 1 position. That's where you were.
Yeah.
And then there's the second and third position. Ultimately, you're going to need to be able to push and pull and fade. What, Eleanor?
Like, I've never been able to figure out the second and third position. Like, there's the first one, and then it just kind of puts the people where it wants to put the people.
Yeah, no, there's still some bit of a learning curve. And it's also like when I was talking to the folks about this stuff, it's not like, did you do that? Was that fun?
Yeah,
it's not like the,
like I can't get myself into that second position, I bet.
Okay. You have to rotate around to it, I think. So those are some of the things like they'll have to improve. You know what I mean?
Oh, I did it!
Like, yeah, all right. Hey, Yassine, thank you, buddy. That's a massive compliment, my friend. Coming from you, my friend, that's awesome. Thank you. We will all take that compliment. Yassine says, this was amazing. I agree.
Thank you. I'm having fun.
Are you having any luck there, young lady?
Love in the top.
Okay.
Oh, I thought he was asking me if I was having luck. I'm like, well, I'm feeling lucky in general, but
You're gonna have to
I
confirm your
haven't
email
tried anything in the past 20 seconds. So.
No, you can use I learned in part, like rather than just by playing. That's the best way to learn on this.
Yeah.
Just play. You can't do really anything like that's gonna bring hats collapsing in on itself that I found yet. I mean,
is there like a space? I guess maybe in the pre-live that we were sitting in beforehand, can you still have the same controls and just play around before you go live with the controls?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you can like over here. Let's see. Okay. No, I'm trying to not open up my whole other browser here. Over to the right. There's the area that says like uploads, and you can upload
Frank,
images and videos. Huh?
Hold on, sorry. Frank says Caleigh can now add this to her IMDb as a director. There you go. She's run the control room. He's looking out for you. He's looking out for you. He's trying to get you some more work.
I appreciate it.
But
Push
that's
all
where
the buttons.
Push all the buttons.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I feel like, who's this? Roger. Roger, you are calling upon the young version of me. This is exactly how I used to act. My mother once, actually, I probably have multiple stories like this, but when I was in, I think, elementary school, maybe it was like kindergarten or junior kindergarten, I was just old enough to start to figure out what a phone was and recognize the buttons on it. And my mother left me alone in the kitchen to go have a shower. And so there were numbers listed on the phone, a landline, good old landline that had emergency numbers. And I was able to coordinate a full phone number, and I punched in a phone number and I called the fire station. And I didn't know I was calling the fire station, but they made me stay on the phone until my mother came out of the shower to make sure that everything was okay and we weren't in an emergency situation. And what's the cherry on the top of this story is that the following week, our school was taking a field trip to the fire station. And my mother, of course, pointed out, this is the weirdo anomaly kid that called you.
Well, thank you, Mom. That was so nice of you.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
she knows I didn't. See, the thing is that I took note. Of course, I was going to admit to it. Yes, I think I had to push buttons, and I think that's pretty cool.
Well, you can push any button you want. You can't break it.
No.
It's actually not that hard to learn to do, but I have so fortunate to be able to have Eleanor do my technical directing because it's hard, sometimes to keep up with what's going on, and just keeping up in the comments, which you've done really well, gets trickier and trickier as more people watch, so.
A rotary phone. Oh, I used to have a red rotary phone it was my favorite. Like, I didn't like using it because it took so long to call my friends once I was of the age of using the phone. But just aesthetically speaking, oh, it was gorgeous. It's vintage, and I wish my parents actually still had that. I would use it.
Did you have a party line, Roger? I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember a party line.
My mom's talking about party lines, yeah.
Yeah, you know what party lines are?
Yeah, I know what party line. This is the new party.
I think it would be great
This is a
to have
party
a
line.
party line now. Like, it really is. Like,
oh, it's a party that's gone
anybody.
till I don't know what time it is for everybody tuning in, but it's a party that has gone to 12:30. I didn't realize it was already tomorrow right now.
Well, only where you are.
What's that?
It's still
You're in
today
the
here.
future.
It's still today there. It's not the picture anymore.
Ponder that one, wise one.
It is always now.
Oh my goodness! Hold on one second. Hold on.
But if you like down here at the bottom, you can hit any of those things that say like stack or PIP, which is picture in picture in grid. That's
Now go click
just
on
go
the
and
other
you
link
can
I
hit
gave
them
you.
and see what they do.
Very cool. Oh, this is so
And
fun. You should
whoever
control.
whoever is in
Have you
that
seen my
over
show?
on over where those blue
Click on my
boxes are
show.
that have each of us in it. Whoever has that one hit on blue will be in the one position,
What's your
in
what's
those,
your name?
depending on which
Oh,
one of those you
awesome.
choose, layouts.
Corbin?
But it doesn't
Okay, hold on.
show. So there's no control to specifically put people into position 2, 3, 4. Like they just rotate, like you were mentioning before.
Yeah, we need that control. We don't have it yet.
Yeah, I would really like that control to be able to be like
What I just
have
did,
a where it
Alex?
says one, also have a 2, a 3, 4. You know,
Yeah.
like
So hang
so
on.
you can
Now you
choose
say hi
each
back.
one of those.
That's cool.
Yeah, that would be
So-
great if we had.
What
Yeah, say hi, Dad, if you want.
the numbers mean? Like I see. I think I understand when somebody puts a heart or a like on a comment. And
Okay, so now
Caleigh.
look in your little. Go click on the. I'm sorry. Hang on one second. Click on the. Click on the little. I don't want you to. I don't want you to stop me. I'm talking to Alex for a second, but I want everybody to hear. Don't mute me. Did you mute me, Caleigh?
No, it was me. It was me. Totally
Okay.
me.
All right. Well, then I'm mad. No, I'm just kidding.
No, yeah,
So there
sure.
she is.
Oh, I wish I.
That is
It was
not
a fizz.
actually.
He's gone now. Let's blame him.
That's not actually my daughter's name, but there she is, Alex Corbin. I don't know where that came from. And so she's in the room, and I think we're going to get her to at least come up and maybe give us some audio because, like, this is the only chance I've had to see my 18-year-old daughter today. So I'm really thrilled because we were playing phone tag all day. So Alex, you'll see down there, there's like looks like a symbol, looks like a camera or see the little red thing or it says live or something. Yeah. So click on that. All right. You guys can, yeah. Okay. Did it work?
Sorry.
Go ahead and talk,
I'm
guys.
so fascinated watching someone else learn technology. Okay, so what do the chat along the left-hand side, it says 251 live chats. Is that across the board for all of HAPS TV, or is that here on this
Just
channel?
in this channel, there have been 252 comments made
Okay.
over here in the comments.
The 591 hearts and likes.
You can click on the 591. And it should bring up a thing that says like people who reacted to Revolution McInnes post, and that's all the people that were here that either liked it or loved it. And then where it sees that little like eyeball.
Yeah.
Those are all the people who have watched it, I believe. Who've I'm still not completely
have
sure.
eyeballs.
Huh?
Those are all the people who have eyeballs.
Those are all the people that have eyeballs.
Exactly. They have watched for some period of time. Now there's a trick to HAPS because we're in beta. So I found out we have I think in a month, maybe I shouldn't disclose this because anyway, but we have a certain amount
getting sneak peeks on this.
Yeah, we might have a certain amount of viewers and it's a closed loop right now. Like it's hard to discover people and stuff because we're in beta. So here's what didn't happen tonight, because what I always do for the first hour is I don't invite anybody up. But if I were to invite another broadcaster up and they were to come up and let's say they had 1,000, followers, their 1,000 people would be notified that they're here, very similar to Clubhouse. And then we would get more views. But, for the first hour, I don't invite anybody up. So but we'll get lots of replay views. Like this will get a lot of, we'll get a couple of thousand hits when it's being replayed.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow. I'll live in the future too.
And then where it says, what does it say?
Yeah, go ahead. Call me back if you have a
12?
problem.
Yes.
Bye.
Just do that 12. Like if you click on it, those are
Tips.
yeah, these are the tips and like the awards that people have
Okay.
given during this show too. Oh wow! Now it has like you can actually see who gave them. Wow, that's.
Oh, you didn't know
I
that?
hadn't seen
Yeah.
that. No, that's
Yeah,
cool.
that might only be because you're back here, I think. But so the way this system works, since it's kind of it's like 11:30 my time, 12:30 your time, so our little more intimate portion of the show. The way that this works is they also, if you become a VIP, so, meaning that you get like you average 500 views, live views in 5 episodes and 5 shows, then you become a VIP, and that gets you a little more discoverability, gets you on the main page, but it also lets you become someone that can be sponsored. So in fact, Eleanor is a sponsor of this program, and she donates, and like she doesn't have to, but she donates X amount of dollars. Doesn't donate. She gives me X amount of dollars every month. So it's like Patreon, except you can do it directly through the channel. So for some broadcasters, the tips or the awards, they're really a cute, fun way to kind of get some affirmation and to have some fun. But for some of the broadcasters, they've got lots of sponsors, and they can make a pretty good chunk of money every month. And so it's a way for people to build a network, make community, and at least on some level, for even somebody like me who's, my politics is my thing for so long, and that's just not like a sexy thing where I'm going to get 1,000, 10,000 views, but I'm building, I'm doing better. But so for somebody like me, a few hundred extra bucks a month, helps out, because I'm going to do this anyway. I love doing it. And for some people, there are a handful of people on this platform that are probably making a living. So you can do anything in between. It's an amazing resource.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. I had never heard of it beforehand, and I'm glad that we connected and I got to learn about this. It's very cool to see all of the different opportunities for independent content creators, and particularly journalists is fascinating for me.
It'd be interesting because what I'm trying to do is, there was a broadcaster back in the 70s. I think he came on after Johnny Carson, and his name was Tom Snyder. And he was like Johnny Carson, but Johnny Carson would have Hollywood people on it, like I don't know who's a popular nighttime host now, Colbert or something. They'd have Hollywood people and stuff like that. But Tom Snyder would have like a prostitute from the Bronx or something, like, and interview her and find out what her life is like. And then the next one would be like Golda Meir, the prime minister of Israel or something. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to bring a wide variety of people on here, introduce people. I 100% wanted, to interview you because you're just fascinating. I love your brain. And I'm hoping maybe somebody will see this and maybe it'll get you some work. Maybe it won't. You know what I mean? But like, I just want it to be a success, and I want to bring people here. I've got a couple of musicians that they're just awesome, and I can't wait. Kate Tucker, she's doing stuff in Nashville. She's got an EP. Just look up Kate Tucker on Apple. Her EP is awesome, and she's going to be on the show soon. So yeah, like, I just feel like I could be an ambassador to the world of all kinds of interesting people. And you're one of the first that I've had, and definitely I can't wait for you to come back again. Oh, there, Alex Corbin is saying hi again, Dad. Hi, Alex Corbin. Have you figured out how to come into the room yet?
Hi, Alex Corbin. I'm not
Alex,
Dad.
Yep. This is my my new friend, Caleigh, now that I can pronounce her name. From Toronto, and we met on that app I was telling you about, Clubhouse. I'm going to subscribe to you, Alex Corbin, and now I can send you an invite.
Oh, and Roger Simons Is it Simmons or Simons? I think Simon. Simmons would be two ends. And Roger is asking, what's the story with Clubhouse? And that's where we met. I got onto Clubhouse. I initially thought it was more so for musicians because it was a friend who is a musician who was on there and brought me onto it. And it is a world of everything. It's an audio only app, like a social media app, and it's in beta form as well. I think you can only use it on iPhones right now. I don't think that they have a version for Androids, and I think you can listen in on your computer, but you wouldn't be able to interact the same way that you could on your iPhone. And it's essentially they've designated the term rooms, I think, for what you enter into to have discussions with people. And some rooms are silent and you're going in to just do meditation, and there's a yogi or meditation leader who walks you through that, not walks you, but verbally will take you through that experience. There are rooms where, for myself, I'm connecting with a lot of other filmmakers, friends that I don't get to see anymore, or that I only ever really saw on a irregular basis at different film festivals. And now I have regular clubs that I go into just to discuss film-related issues or projects that I am working on right now. What's very fascinating is that it's bringing worlds together that essentially it just feels like it's accelerating a lot of the activity that I personally was seeing in the world of filmmaking when I would go to a film festival. So the networking that you would experience. Oh, Alex Corbin is here.
Hey, can I put you out here, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay. Woohoo! I got your birthday in. Wow. Hey, what's up, girl?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hey.
I'm Allie.
Hi, Allie.
As my name says Alex Corbin, but
I call you Alex. I've called her Alex since her first day. And my mother, who I love to death, and I love your name, Allie, you know that. But my mother, who I love to death, passively aggressively didn't like the name Alex for a girl. I know I read my mother well. I love you, mother, if you're watching. But she passively aggressively started calling her Allie. And she's Allie, and we love Allie. But she's always Alex to me. So, yeah.
I've
So
thought
this is
about
your first
going
time
on.
here?
It is, yeah.
Mine too. Very cool.
Isn't that cool?
So cool.
Are you planning on doing some of your own hosting on here?
I honestly haven't planned on it, no, but it
Oh,
seems
we're not
really
picking
cool.
you up. What are you using for a mic?
Oh,
Put on a. Do you have earbuds in? Are they connected to the computer, or you're on your phone?
I'm on my phone.
Oh, that sounds good.
Can we hear her now?
Is that
Yeah.
better?
Well, you guys can hear her? I can't hear her. Okay. Hang on one second, Alex. Stay right there. I'll be right back, guys.
I think it's choppy on my end too.
What are you doing?
What's behind you?
Oh, it's a Grateful Dead tapestry
Very cool.
Nice.
and flags,
And what flags?
Tibetan flags.
Oh, nice.
Can you hear now, Rev?
Or
Yes. Hello, birthday girl.
Hello.
I love you.
I love you.
This is great. This is awesome. This is very exciting. So Eleanor down there in the lower right does like all the behind the scenes technical directing. Of course, we've given Caleigh controls of the director tools as well, so she can direct the show. And Caleigh and I met on the app I was telling you about, and she was talking about some cool neuroscience stuff, and I'm like, oh, I have to have her on the show. And she's an actress, and she's really talented, and she's really smart and really fun, and so I'm just having a blast getting here to talk. Alex favors Britney Spears, says Kim Carolina. There you go. That's a compliment right there.
Yes, I've actually heard that before.
Really? Oh, that's great. That's really cool.
Did you do anything during the day for your birthday?
Well, I still had school, so I just did school online, and I hung out with two of my friends, celebrated with my family.
That's very cool. How are you liking your experience online for school now?
It's like I honestly don't like it, but it's also like I have senioritis, so um, it's it's okay, but I like I really like being at school a lot better. But it is what it is. So
Are you hybrid still, kid? Or are you?
yeah, we're hybrid.
Yeah. So she goes. What do you go to school 2 days a week, or?
Yeah. Yeah. So we
Yeah.
go 2 days a week, and it's only half of the day, which is nice. But it's also weird. They're hoping to actually bring us like most of us back for like full time in I don't know, late March maybe.
Honestly, I hope I don't like, personally, I would wish that you weren't at school, but
Yeah.
I want you to be able to go full time because I know what senioritis is like. I know how you're feeling, and it's an important time. And so if you guys can get that time together, I think that'll be a big deal, and I'll be really happy for you because I just know how I know how hard this must be because Alex and I have I've not seen my grandparents, your grandparents. I haven't seen my parents in over a year, and they're only 50 miles away. But we live in the city. We don't have a car. Alex drives, and she comes and sees us. But I think one of the most heartbreaking things for me this year is that I haven't gotten to see you very much.
Yeah.
It's really hard because I mean, I'm not seeing you on your birthday, and I am now, and this is damn good. And I'm glad I was going to FaceTime with you, at the end. And I'm like, no, I get to see you this way. And you should do something on this network. It's a lot of fun, and get your friends on here and make some connections. Who gives a damn if anybody watches, but maybe
Yeah.
your friends, and you can play your guitar on here if you want. I'll get you mic'd up. I'll show you how to mic up and all that stuff. So yeah.
That's
Our kids are turning out so much cooler than us.
Aren't they though?
They are. It's my son's senior year too, and I'm just like, I'm blown away by him. I'm like, I did not parent you.
Yeah.
You are way too cool. Like, I did not do that.
Alex, Frank in California, who I know well here, says, Alex, are you both a fish head and a deadhead?
I don't know what that means.
I think he's
So-
referring to the music.
The Grateful Dead and the band Fish.
Yes. There's a band Fish?
Yeah, they followed the Dead after the Dead weren't the Dead basically anymore. PH, you've had fish food from Ben and Jerry probably.
Yeah.
There's a band Fish. Wow. What did
Okay,
I do wrong?
We can't hear the music through the ice cream.
You can't hear the music through the ice cream. No, but your mom's probably, your mom probably wasn't listening to Fish very often. Oh, the light looks really good now.
Yeah. I could have done this on the computer, I guess.
No, that's all right. So Fish is a band. They were like the Grateful Dead. People follow them around. So
I
And you
should.
play guitar?
I've been like self-taught for a while, but yeah, I need to actually play more often and learn more, but I do play. I have an electric guitar.
That's amazing. That's super cool. I feel like I'm in a very similar boat to you because I expressed a desire to learn how to play guitar. And so my dad got me an electric guitar, and then a month later he got me a Fender Strat, and then a month later asked me if I had learned how to play yet. And I'm like, oh, I'm trying to figure it out, but apparently it's easier on an acoustic. So he bought me an acoustic guitar. So I'm like,
wow.
here now I have to learn how to play. So the first song that I ever tried to teach myself, because I'm self-taught as well, it's not like I've gone and taken any lessons, but
Yeah.
I tried to learn how to play Stairway to Heaven, actually. Why not play that as your first attempt?
Of course.
It ended up
Yeah,
sounding
easy
like
song.
yeah, well, mine sounded like Sally McCamel.
Oh my gosh. I've tried, like, I don't know if Stairway to Heaven has a lot of like power chords if you're familiar, but a lot of like the stuff that I'm interested in like playing on the electric guitar has a ton of power chords, and that's like power chords are really hard to play.
Are they hard physically to create?
Yeah, with your fingers it's difficult.
It's
Yeah.
all hard for me.
Yeah.
I'm a lefty, so yeah, it's all just backwards.
You could reverse the strings or get a lefty guitar.
Well, Kurt Cobain was a left-handed, so.
Did he reverse the strings or did he?
Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
my hands are tiny. It didn't work for me.
Oh yeah, and I know she likes Joy Division. Clearly, I know she likes Nirvana. I know she likes a lot of '80s new wave, so she's got good taste in music, of course. So, and I'm sure I know she likes the new stuff too. I love the new stuff too. You know that I listen to everything, and I love hip hop. I love pop music. I want to stay current with what's in the world, and it's so fast paced and everything.
Yeah, I'm finding that I'm learning less and less about. I mean, I don't listen to a full album from beginning to end like I used to as much anymore.
Right.
And a lot of the songs that I find I'll start to turn on to, I don't know the new bands or the names of the songs because I'm listening to like Spotify and I'm listening to a suggested list. So every once in a while, I'll force myself to check and then try to replay and remember. But there's just so much new music out there. And I don't know, maybe my brain's deteriorating because it's not sticking in there anymore.
Yeah, that I actually feel so with that. It's so like there's so much. I also use Spotify, and there's so much there, and sometimes I just get caught up in like just listening to the same like 3 playlists that I've created for months.
Yeah, I do the same thing, but I'll forget what like I name my playlists really weirdly, and so I don't always remember what I meant at the onset. So when I go to add another song, I'm like, I don't know, does it fit here? Is it for like emo writing time or don't know. Or I'll just have like sunshine as a label.
Yeah,
Jam, not jelly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, yeah. And then I end up creating like a ton of playlists, like too many. And then they get short, and then it's like, oh, lost the idea of it.
I like
I'll
it.
make playlists that are like mostly the same songs with like just a few tweaks here and there. They're mostly all just the same.
Did you get a new necklace yesterday?
I did.
Are you wearing it?
I'm not wearing it.
You're not? That's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to. I just couldn't tell. I couldn't see it.
I did get. Oh, I know. I meant to tell you.
It's fine. It's fine. No big deal. We get to see each other tonight. This is the best birthday gift I could ever get, and it's your birthday. So.
It is also
definitely
a celebration to you, though.
Yeah. Well, right. And your mother, for goodness sakes, she did all the damn work. I just stood there and watched. You know? Yeah. Oh, what a great time that was. And I got to tell you a story about this beautiful young woman. So, and don't get me wrong, every baby's beautiful, but yeah, not really. And we were in the hospital. She was born. She was born. And I know, you know, there were nurses and doctors that came from all over the hospital to see this baby. She was so cute. I am not kidding you. I'm not making up a story to make it sound fun. This nurse came in and she's like, just like what I said, you know, every baby's cute, but not really. And I just want you to know that there are doctors and nurses coming all over the hospital to see this cute baby. The word is getting out. And I'm like, okay, I'm a fresh new dad. I haven't been asleep for 24 hours. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. And then she had this little seizure. We never did figure out what it was about. They said, don't worry about it. And so then she was like in the little ICU. And now the cutest baby in the hospital is in the ICU. And so then I actually saw staff going to look at her. I was like, wow, because she was gorgeous to me, of course. But yeah, she was literally the cutest baby in the hospital for a couple of days. So it was pretty awesome.
It's so weird that you're talking about that. And my best friend who lives on the West Coast, literally, as you're talking, texted me pictures of her brand new baby. She just had a baby.
Oh, wow. Cool.
The same thing, was in the ICU, and it's kismet.
It is
Yeah.
kismet. I know.
That's so
cool.
That's crazy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Also,
I'm grateful I get to be here for your birthday and meet you on your birthday.
I'm be here too on my birthday. It's like it's so interesting. It's so fun. Good.
it's fun. Why do you think your dad does this every night?
Yeah. No, it's nice, especially with like everything going on. It's I feel like I have less conversations with people physically. It's all just texting, and it's sometimes texting is just it get kind of lazy in a way, and you just kind of I don't know. I've like kept a lot of things to myself, probably more than I usually do, because I don't have like, I guess, as many opportunities, during classes and lunch to talk to different people. And
yeah, wow, we were talking about that earlier, about not having those levels of, like, we don't have the audio connection unless you hop on a phone. You don't
Right.
have visual connection unless you hop on something like this. And those are different ways of actually being able to communicate with each other and actually understand who somebody is or what their message is for you, like what they're actually trying to say. So much gets lost in text, and yeah, there's just so much more space that you have to fill in yourself. And if you're not in the mood, if you don't feel like dealing with that, you can just walk away, and it doesn't matter, because we don't treat texting the same way that we do a face-to-face conversation.
right, yeah,
It's so different in school time too.
mm-hmm.
Hey,
Yeah.
Alex, the
Yeah.
Kim Carolina, who I love to death because she's been helping me get people on the show, she says it'll all be better soon. Hang in there, sweetie. But
Oh.
she also says, "Oh, we lost your picture. You
Oh.
still there?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Wow.
Oh, here it comes.
He's just reloading.
Yeah, it may not be you. It just might be a bad cell connection there for a second. And then she says, "Well, y'all gave birth to Brittany after all, Rev." So there she is. But you can see people are commenting in the comments, and you can actually type back. But you have to make sure it's not pink. You have to unlock the lock, and then you can make a comment back, or you can give a smiley face or whatever. So
Yes. Oh.
yeah. Well, both you and Caleigh are learning the ropes on Haps tonight. So I kind of, if anybody's watching from Haps, I get like a 2-for-1 tonight, right? I get credit. I'm just kidding. But, I brought 2 awesome people to the platform tonight, so I think that's pretty cool.
Definitely.
What's it like when you do go back into, you said that you're in school 2 days a week?
Yeah, we are in school 2 days a week. So we have like a hybrid schedule where half of the students are going in Monday, Tuesday, and then half go in Thursday, Friday. So split up in 2 groups, and it's half the day. There's only, you either have 3 or 4 class periods that day, and then the rest of the week is the 2 other rest of the classes, basically, rest of your classes. But yeah, it's not too bad going in. There's less people that I'm seeing, so it's a little bit less like motivating to go in, because we actually, if you're scheduled for hybrid, you do have the choice to go in or stay home. They, like, right now they're allowing you to, if you want to stay home, you can stay home and just do class remotely. But I've been trying to go into school as much as I can, because I learn better that way, and it's my senior year, so I'm excited to, kind of like wrap things up and, see my teachers for the last time and my friends and stuff. But it's actually, my school's been doing a really good job, in my opinion, with like how they're handling the hallways and, you know, classes. Like we're all spread apart. There's not many kids in most of my classes. It's usually about like maybe 10, 11 of us each day, because it's half the class, and then the rest is online. So that's also something though that I've it's been a little bit like less motivating, because our teachers are like teaching the students at school and online at the same time. So it's, I mean, we're not getting that like individual like learning, and it's kind of just like our teacher sits at their desk and they, you know, they're talking to us. Some of them talk to the students in class a little bit more than others, but it's like, oh well, might as well just stay home. Like if it's just gonna be the same way, except I'm, you know, sitting in my room.
Yeah, well, it's nice that you have the option that you're at least able to, you know, call it by, you know, the seat of your pants every day, or whatever you feel like and whatever's safest for you. And
Right?
somebody actually just asked the same question that I was going to ask about if you have college plans. Do you have like a particular field that's of interest to you that you're wanting to pursue?
I've actually kind of, I've started to settle maybe on my ideas with, you know, college, but yeah, I'm really interested in graphic design and like possibly becoming an art director. But I'm also really interested in, like, I'm interested in all forms of art, but other than art, I'm also really interested in psychology. So that's another thing that, those two things I've kind of like, you know, it's been hard to decide what I want to like pursue, but I'm planning on, you know, doing a bunch kind of to see where I want to like land with a career and stuff.
Yeah, you sound like you have a similar mind to what my mind was like when I was going into university. I'm in the arts now and have always been obsessed with arts. But alongside, I did MIT Media Information Technoculture, so diving into communications, and but I did a psychology program alongside psychology and philosophy. But I'm still very much obsessed with psychology, and it's cool that psychology can be such a source of inspiration and information that you can bleed into your art. So maybe you're going to end up doing something that melds it all together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly how I feel too. And I wish that there were more, you know, I guess that there were more options for, you know, align. I feel that they can be very similar, and like a lot of times. And yeah, it helps me like as a like individual with my art, you know, like learning about psychology and also like learning about psychology, and like, you know, like art, like helping, you know.
And are you doing graphic design work already? Have you started like building a portfolio or playing around with things to see what you want to do with it?
I sort of have. I do have a portfolio that I've like submitted for college, but I actually haven't done too much actual like graphic design work yet. I do a lot of like various art stuff, but it's always like if I have an opportunity to do it for like a project or something, or I don't know, if it's something small, like if I'm helping a friend like create like a little like design for something, or like recently my friend was doing some screen printing, and she needed like a few like designs, like design help with it. Then I'll like do stuff like that, but I haven't like worked on individual graphic design like projects on my own, but I plan to, and I really want to like learn more. But my mom, I also watch a lot of stuff that my mom does, because she also does a lot of graphic design, and she was a graphic design major, and she continues to do a lot of work for her school and like the Illinois Art IEA or something.
Oh, that's so cool. You should I can't remember off the top of my head. There are a couple of sites that I was just hearing about. I think kind of similar to like Fiverr. I don't know if you've ever heard of Fiverr, but
Yeah.
so if you hop on sites like that and see if there are like small projects to start playing around with and just see if, you would end up with pieces by the end of it to put into a portfolio, but it might give you an idea of ones that would actually be of interest to you that exist out there for monetization too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. I'll definitely be doing that, because it's like it's been hard to know like really what, like how to, I guess, like start. Like I really enjoy, like graphic design, and I constantly am like thinking of ideas for like certain programs, and not like programs and advertisements, stuff like that. It's like it's always been an interest to me, but I haven't.
Get yourself a notebook. If you like the lines, get one with that. If you like it just blank, and just start putting everything in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like specific towards one thing. Just any ideas you have, any sketches you have, just start filling that notebook up, and you'll start like seeing like these things that are kind of similar, and they're connected kind of in ways, and you'll be able to like pull those together and like create projects that will lead to something bigger for your portfolio. Like just grab a notebook and start putting everything in it. It was the best advice any of my art teachers gave me. They were like, just do it. Everything. They were like, grocery list, everything. Put it in the notebook. I was like, okay.
But maybe have a system to find it again, because I do exactly what you're talking about, but I have so many notebooks that the only reason I remembered that is because I just started going.
I date them.
See, that's smart. I don't even stick to the same notebook. So when I try to remember something and then start to try to organize my thoughts, I'm like, oh, that was supposed to be part of a blog post, and that one was supposed to be part of my novel, and that was a screenplay. I'm like, but I don't remember where I put it. So I just throw them all in the same book. So find some sort of system that works for you being able to actually find your stuff again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I found that just dating them and trying to I thought of that during this date period. Like, I found if I get more than one notebook at a time, I will start filling out multiple notebooks, and then I'm just like chaos.
Yeah.
Well, that's so cool that you're into that field. It's so much fun. And I find, at least up in Canada, the people that I've worked with up here, the creative minds are such a cool tribe to be a part of.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've always wanted to work. I've always thought I've wanted to work in art, and I've changed my opinions on it along the way, but it's something that I always fall back into, even if I'm like, no, I'm gonna go a different route, but it just comes back. So I want to continue that.
Yeah, same here. That's really cool. It sounds like you have a lot of. You already sound organized, and you got a good head on your shoulders. So you're well ahead of the game. You're like where I should have been, but am now.
I've honestly only recently felt like this, and it's also recently it's all I've really been thinking about, because I'm finishing applications and really want to figure out what I plan on doing, but because I've changed my mind about it a lot, so I'm trying to narrow it down a little bit.
Well, I don't know if you necessarily have to these days. I mean, even just taking a look at how careers have shifted from my parents' generation to mine, and how we traditionally, I mean, when I was right when I was going into university, the story around it was that people were now having, 7 different careers over their lifespan, as opposed to one traditional career. And that seems to be changing even more so now, especially with the boundaries between different sectors being blended. And you're talking about, not necessarily always sticking with the idea of doing art, but that you keep coming back to it, well, you're probably just going to be somebody who changes the entire field. You will create a new role. You're going to be a trendsetter, and it's going to change it even more. So allow yourself to just explore and follow what makes you feel curious and alive, and let that inform what you're like. Don't try to fit the box. You don't get pigeonholed. You just go do what you want and let the world surround you.
I've always thought that there needs to be more art in actual therapy. Like, people express themselves sometimes through their art that they can't with words. And there needs to be more of that. So maybe you'll be the person that like breaks it really through. I mean, there's that little bit of art therapy, but there needs to be more.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
thank you guys so much. That makes me feel really good about continuing, like my ideas, and hopeful.
That's awesome. That's very cool. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
You know what I love about this is you guys talking, and I just can sit here and be quiet. Like, no, like seriously, like this is why I do this, like to get really great dialogues going. And I just wanted to acknowledge Kim. That's the only reason I'm literally jumping in here. Sounds like you have the same wonderful passion as your dad. Marvelous. Yeah. You certainly have that beautiful gift of gab like your dad. Yes, she does. That will serve you well for sure. My youngest talked at 10 months and never stopped. She's a TV meteorologist now. She is. She's awesome. She's awesome. She's lovely, Rev. I know you're very proud. I'm super proud. And she says, great advice, Alex. Yeah, Kim Carolina's daughter is a weather. She's actually a meteorologist. She's not just a weather reader. She's a meteorologist, and she is in Baltimore. So,
that's cool.
So neat.
There's amazing people on this app, and even two more now.
I definitely am fascinated with it, and I'm going to be hopping back on to give myself a tutorial and play around with it.
Good.
I was mentioning before, Alex, I have a podcast I was running for a couple of years, and it actually focuses on the intersection between mass media culture and mental health. And so it's an amalgamation of what we're interested in, which is super fun and cool. But I'm thinking I'm going to have to hop on here after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take these and package them up as a podcast, another way for people to connect. And so that's why I try to read the comments out loud instead of just responding to them, because they won't make sense, So if somebody's, she's lovely, Rev, you're very proud. I could just say, hey, Kim, that's true. She is lovely. But they're like, well, wait, what did Kim say? So that's why I always try to read it. So it'll work as a podcast somewhat. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I was noticing that some of them you're actually putting the text up on the screen itself so that it's part of the show. Are you doing that, or is it automatic?
Yeah. No, I'm consciously doing it. Yeah.
Cool. Lots to learn from me on here with the technical capabilities.
Yeah, you'll pick it up fast. It's pretty, it's super fun. It's super fun. It's 12:05. It's 1:05 in Toronto. And as your friend, I just want to make sure, because this is very exciting, and I do not want you twittering me tomorrow like, you realized I stayed up until blankety blank. So
yeah, I was just noticing that too. I do actually have a bit of an early morning, and I'm thinking that's a great reminder that I should be getting some appropriate sleep before I have a long day tomorrow.
Yeah.
So maybe I should let the guest of honor be the birthday girl of honor and pass that along and let you three continue on for the rest of the night.
Well, we're going to bed soon too, but yeah, in fact, I can. I'm gonna. Oh, you know what we'll do? I'll take us out, because we're going to be here for just a minute, all of us, after I end the show, and we can chat. I just want to touch base with everybody like they do on that other Clubhouse app. We'll do a quick debrief and everything right after this. So listen, everybody, if you're watching this on replay, thank you. I have been doing this for 8 weeks on this platform, been doing it for a couple of years on other platforms. Every interview I have had has successively gotten better and more interesting. And this is by far no offense to anybody else, but this is by far the best one we've done, technically and spiritually, emotionally. Right, Eleanor?
It's been great. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this.
People
like,
have been
conversation.
commenting in the comments like, wow, this was great. You know what I mean? Like, so this is the way this app is supposed to work. And we, and we showed it tonight. And just, I love all of you. I especially love the blonde on the left a lot. And I'm so happy you were here getting to do what your dad loves to do. And I just appreciate all you watching. Sign up for Haps TV. Do this yourself. I think you're going to see these two marvelous women doing this themselves on here. And I love you, Kim Carolina. Love to everybody that watched this. I'll let you all say goodnight if you want.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm, like I said, really excited to even learn that this is a tool, and so grateful that I, by hapstance, met you and got to be a part of tonight's broadcast, and to meet all of you. And happy birthday again, Alex. Really cool. I hope that we're able to connect again and I'm able to learn what you end up doing once you're out of school too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much. It was great. All the advice of encouragement and everything has been great, and it's so nice to talk to someone else about like exactly what I've been like thinking in my head and been passionate about, because I honestly haven't had that much of an opportunity to in the past few months. But
well, feel free anytime. Connect. Your father has me on.
I'll connect you up.
Yeah,
Yep.
And I'm an open book. You have any questions, call me up.
Thank you.
The Eleanor, do you want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Eleanor has her closing line that you will hear in a minute. So listen, everybody, you're watching this on replay. Sign up, perhaps. Go into some rooms, give some folks some tips. Make somebody's morning tomorrow when they see you became their sponsor, or if they're overseas and they see it happen right now. This is an international platform. It's an amazing place. Share it with your friends. I love all of you, and we will see you tomorrow night, same time. Well, Brian Dunning from Skeptoid will be with us, and more fun coming up soon. Aaron and I are working on something for Thursday nights. Aaron Haber and I, some kind of comedy stuff. So we're going to let everybody go. Peace be with you. Thanks, Brett. Happy birthday, Alex. Brett says. Brett's like all of this that you're seeing on your mobile devices. That's Brett right there. He's bad to the bone. All right, everybody. Be good. Peace be with you. And namaste.
Namaste, right?
And